I'm the type of guy who likes to roam around, but when I watch the Fallout show, I just like to sit down and watch because holy crap, what a television series. What's up, guys? Welcome to Fallout Episode 8, the beginning, breakdown, and discussion. With me today, I have got pretty much everybody's here. We've got the Dab Ninja, we got Snickerer, we got the Banana, and we got TooRissky. How you guys doing?
Hi.
That's pretty much everybody, right?
Pretty fantastic.
Well, Luis never watched the show, so.
Oh, that's low-key kind of surprising.
I was gonna say, Luis also admitted yesterday that he's also never seen Lord of the Rings or any of the Star Wars movies or anything like that.
Or Star Trek.
I'm like, I am
He's
clever.
the Nintendo guru.
Hey, but at least he's tried out the Fallout games, right? Like some people.
When?
No, I don't think he's played any of them. But anyway, how's it going, everybody? We're going to jump right into this. It's a great episode. We'll have our question, but it will be at the end, so stay tuned for that. And let's go ahead and dive right into scene one. We got a lot of stuff going on. Right off the bat, we are with Max. And Max is actually on a vertibird, and he's being returned to the Brotherhood. Remember, he took the head, and he was basically like, Lucy, get out of here. I'll take the head. I'll give him a head. Also, Thaddeus, you're a ghoul now. Get out of here. I'll take the head. Go live your life as a ghoul now. So basically, he's sitting in there, and it kind of seems like they're kind of mad at him, though, right? Like, he's sitting there with two knights in power armor, and they're helicoptering in, and they actually pass a sign that says Philly on it. So they're headed to Philly. And while they're doing this, Max is kind of like reminiscing about Lucy and how they promised to find each other and everything. And so he's really sold on going to the vault idea because it was very peaceful. And he liked his popcorn and sitting there watching a waterfall on the TV.
And safe.
It's safe. Exactly.
Life is simple. It's a simple.
It is caviar?
Yeah, he was eating some caviar. He was very confused as to what it was.
What is this?
But yeah, so they're flying into Philly, which is very interesting. And actually, over the radio, we get to hear one of the Brotherhoods talking to the pilot and says, hey, we've cleared out Philly for landing. The locals put up a big fight, but so did we. Which is like, okay, so they went in there and they just cleared out all the locals of Philly. Right? What did he say?
I just want to say, if that deputy's dad wasn't dead before,
Right.
the
Sure is. He's
dead now.
definitely dead now.
That probably means Ma June and them are dead too.
Right?
Everyone's dead.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, who survived from that? But anyway, so they even have the Pridwin there. That's what's crazy. It's like they do an over-the-head shot while they're flying in. The Pridwin's there. Pretty much all of the Brotherhood is just like in Philly now. And they've taken it over. Which is funny because in the first, I think, second episode, we talked about, there's a lot of tech in here. How come the Brotherhood hasn't shown up yet?
My issue with the Breadwinner, it's like, it moves around a lot in this TV show. It's like, yeah, in the game, it stayed at one spot forever.
Or until you blow it up.
I mean, it makes sense that they've been moving around. And they were only so think about New Vegas. They got stuck in the Hidden Valley because they got beat back from Helios 1. They're trying to take stuff and they're trying to move and have missions, but otherwise they're out in the middle of the salt flats because out in the middle of the salt flats, no one's going to go take that from you, right? Like, you can go sit out there. Anyway, so we're cutting into Philly. Max lands and you see they got the Brotherhood of Steel flag over the top of Philly and it looks messed up. And there's tons of knights standing around. There's tons of Brotherhood soldiers standing around. It kind of seems like they came in here and, like they said, they just cleared it out. The two knights end up walking Max all the way up, and they've got this set up very interestingly. The head elder, Quintus, is sitting up on almost like a throne kind of, up at the top of these stairs.
The same stairs that Max threw the ghoul into when they were fighting in Philly. Those same stairs.
Same stairs. But they didn't, were they broken?
They were, and they're repaired now. You can see fresh wood on the stairs that it's been repaired.
The townspeople probably repaired it.
Yeah, probably pretty quick. And then they got to... Thanks for repairing this. This is ours now.
This is my city, comrade.
This is my town now. Very medieval vibes here, right? Because they got the king of the Brotherhood's basically sitting up there. He's the elder, but basically the king of the Brotherhood. Everybody's standing around. He's got knights on either side. and these two power armor knights, bring Max all the way forward and make him kneel in front of the elder. And then Dane, actually, Maximus's friend from the very beginning, takes the head that Max presents, takes it all the way up to Quintus. And this is where Quintus is like, excuse me, you're wearing the knight's red. Because he's not got the power armor, but he's got the power armor, outfit that you wear.
Like the Under Armour suit?
Yeah, he's got the Under Armour suit. And Quintus is like, so where's your knight? And once again, we have Maximus just not explaining himself. All he says is, he's dead.
He didn't make it, Chief.
Oh yeah, because that's the smartest thing he could have done.
Yeah, I don't
guess
know, because the Brotherhood maybe just wouldn't listen. They'd probably say it's a bunch of excuses.
The same thing he told Thaddeus.
Yeah.
The same exact thing. Because when Thaddeus is like, where's your knight? And he goes, oh, he's dead, with that creepy voice.
Mm-hmm. It makes it seem like he killed him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the implication they get here. And even Quintus even says, this is not the first time a brother in your company has fallen into misfortune. Basically directly accuses him, you probably killed that guy too, and then you screwed up Dane's foot so that they couldn't go out. It looks like Dane's also wearing a scribe outfit. Since they got injured, they decided to just be a scribe instead of a knight, which is probably an easier job. It also seems like Dane's all of a sudden the right-hand man of Quintus, because they're giving the head and everything, and they're standing right beside him and everything. So moved up pretty quick.
Wired directly to Quintus almost, or something.
Yeah, some kind of scribe directly under him.
Personal assistant.
At that point, they'd probably be like head scribe or something like that, around that level.
I don't know about head scribe, but maybe just scribe directly assigned to Quintus because of the injury or something. I don't know.
Possibly.
But yeah, so Dane gives Quintus the head, and Quintus holds it out to another cleric who actually scans it with a radiation tracker thingy that apparently Thaddeus used it too earlier. That's how he tracked the ghoul. Quintus says well, I fear you lied then, talking about when Dane got their foot injured. You can kind of tell Max is a little nervous. And the cleric even says, no artifact, my lord. And Quintus is like, just as you lie now. It's very, I don't know. It just gave me such medieval vibes of the lord of the castle's up here. And you have to pay tribute
Kneel
to him.
at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah. And this is when it starts going downhill for Max pretty quick. Quintus lets the head roll down the stairs because it's worthless. And Max is like, wait. And that's when the knights actually push him down on his knees, basically gonna execute him. Right? He's like, wait. No. All the other clerics begin chanting the last rites to Max. So I didn't even really notice this, but apparently they're chanting last rites to Max.
The guys on top of the and they start waving those little brush looking things, and they're like, "Hey, who's domine?"
They're just throwing out stuff.
Yeah.
Full Latin back there.
Yeah, they're just going full Latin on him. And Max is like, wait, listen to me. No, don't do it. And then a third knight steps up behind him and puts a gun up to his head. And he's like, no, don't kill me. I can lead you to it. How? How can... This is my question. How is Max just bluffing here? Because I don't remember him finding out where it goes.
Lucy probably shared where her coordinates were. Yeah, the location, because Monjun put the coordinates into Lucy's Pip-Boy, and Lucy was probably like, yeah, so I got the coordinates, I'm supposed to take the head here. We probably just didn't see that, and it happened off screen.
That, and she also has the tracker inside of the head.
But the tracker's...
Lucy stuck the tracker up the nose.
But that's only for Lucy.
And that's downloaded to her Pip-Boy.
So Max wouldn't have access to that information.
If Max knows where Lucy's going, he can lead them to Lucy, who then has the location of the head.
But that's the question. Max doesn't know. He has no idea where Lucy's going. She just took off running.
I thought she had said that she was going after Moldaver.
Sure, but does Max know where Moldaver is?
Doesn't matter. All he has to tell the Brotherhood, and they'll probably know where to find her.
True.
Brotherhood kind of works like that. You need to find someone, Brotherhood will go send out scouts to go find them.
I guess, but we'll get more into what they do later with that information. But I just thought it was weird because Max is like, I can lead you to it, but I I couldn't think of any valid reason or anything that they'd shown us to why Max would know where to look.
Yeah, Moldaver's a big enough figure where I think people know like where she's based. I think that is right.
That maybe they're just going off of Moldaver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it seems like everyone so far has known who she is.
That crazy woman up in the hills.
The Ghoul, the people of Philly, the people in Vault 4.
But yeah, back to the Brotherhood. Max is panicking. He's telling him he can lead him, but he's going to die, right? He knows he's about to be executed. Max is, I can help you. And Dane actually is like watching Max and looking to Quintus and backs at Max. They're like, wait, please, my lord. My injury was my own doing, not his. Super interesting right there. Because Dane's basically begging for Max's life. Max has just been accused of not only injuring Dane, but also killing a Knight of the Brotherhood. And so now we've finally got closure on who put the blade in Dane's boot. It was Dane. Dane did it to themselves because they were scared, which is crazy. And then they say, for the sake of the Brotherhood, please listen to him. Quintus is kind of sitting there, you know, he's lounging in his throne chair, and he's like, such a display of loyalty. Don't see that much anymore. Kind of cool. He's basically like, and then he stops it. He raises his hand. The Knights release Max, pull their guns away, and Max is going to be fine. But it's very interesting to me that, like, Quintus notes that, like, Dane is being super loyal to Max, even though Dane, by doing what they did, by injuring themselves, wasn't loyal to the Brotherhood.
Yeah, I don't understand why Dane has such
sway,
clout.
That's what I'm saying. They got to be like the scribe directly underneath Quintus.
Right? Like, I don't know. These guys to me are like, they're really new to like joining the ranks of the Brotherhood rather than just sitting at the base. And it's like, you're telling me these guys already have that much pull?
Max has been there for forever since he was like a little kid. So he's been there like 10 plus years. So maybe Dane was the same. But I think you're right.
Yeah, but you get like chosen to like join like...
They were squires.
Yeah. Squires pretty much get stuck at base.
So, no idea.
One thing I could think is maybe both Dane and Max lived in Shady Sands at the time, so both got brought into the Brotherhood around the same time.
They probably got a lot of recruits from that, actually.
If you think about it, yeah, that'd be the best way for the Brotherhood of Steel to bring up their numbers, taking a lot of NCR refugees. Granted, there is probably some sort of hatred between the NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel, but desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Yeah, why not utilize who you can? But that's how that scene ends. Max he's not going to get killed. They actually flash then to Max and Quintus. Quintus has actually pulled Max aside now, and it's a very dark scene, right? Like there's shadows everywhere, and Quintus steps out of the shadows and is like, you think you're the first squire who coveted his knight's armor? Max doesn't really say anything, and Quintus asks, how did Titus die? And Max actually kind of takes a little satisfaction in this, where he says he died running. Once again, doesn't explain to him, he died because we came across a giant bear who beat the crap out of him and he bled out, right? Doesn't explain that at all. Just says he died running.
And he called me a sissy.
He's good at digging his own grave.
Right? But he does call him a sissy. And Quintus is like, man, the Brotherhood's lost its way. We used to be so great. And then he says, and yet power is taken, not given, a lesson you seem to have learned. So Quintus is still kind of assuming that Max took the armor from Titus. That Max took what he wanted.
In a passive-aggressive way.
In a passive-aggressive way, right? Like he's like telling him he likes it, but obviously it was kind of bad if he's implying that that's what he did. Quintus is kind of pacing around him, and he says, if you can lead us to the relic, then you and me will take power. And with it, we will start a new Brotherhood. Basically a new chapter of the Brotherhood. And he says, I will be the head, and the likes of you will be the sword. He's basically saying he wants more people like Max who take what they want. At least his perception of Max, right? Who take what they want and are cruel and mean and kind of are like, this is ours, not yours. I don't know if I like Quintus and the direction he's taking the Brotherhood. It seems kind of a dark one. And I mean, we've kind of seen some terrible stuff with the Brotherhood lately too.
It felt just kind of like that was the tradition of the Brotherhood. Power is taken, not given. So they're going to take the technology that they want because nobody's just going to give it to them. So it's like more that it's true to the Brotherhood culture, and he's like sticking to that culture, I guess. But that was, I don't know, that was what I felt.
And that's not really how the Brotherhood started, though. The Brotherhood started,
No,
I
not
feel
at
like,
all.
with a lot more honor. And even in Fallout 4, I felt like the Brotherhood had some honor until you got to the point
disagree with
that
you on that.
I think they were pretty good until they were just killing synths, right? But like, what's a synth or two?
I don't know, because when you start getting to the point where you have to take settlements for the Brotherhood of Steel, it almost feels forceful.
Yeah, but it doesn't start that way, right? When you meet up with them, it kind of feels like these guys are fighting for the wasteland. They do it slowly over the game. Whereas in this one, I felt like since the beginning of the show, the Brotherhood have been a bunch of a-holes. And have basically just taken what they want.
Let me throw something at you real quick. How long has Maxon been Elder at this point, if indeed he still is Elder at this point?
Great question. Where is he? Why is he not in the show? Did he die? Is he gone?
Because if he is, still the Elder of the Brotherhood, then we can see that he might have, something might have happened in the Commonwealth. And he has more anger, bitterness. If not, it could be a completely different Elder that sees things completely different than how Maxon did, or even Lions from, Fallout 3.
Can you not destroy the Pridwin, but also kill Elder Maxim?
If you have mods, because Bethesda actually cut this from the game, you can become the Elder of the Brotherhood of Steel if you save Paladin Dance with the Dance Dilemma mod.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of tricky. And there's also another mod they just released where you can have all four of the factions live in harmony and unity together, just through a lot of like diplomatic talking and pulling strings.
Is that content, or is that just a modded?
It's just a modded thing, but it is a very interesting alternative ending for Fallout 4.
Oh, look at that. The modding community making better endings than the actual developers.
Yeah, I know, really. No, but I do know for a fact that Dance Dilemma is cut content that Bethesda decided to remove last minute. And that's the only workaround without having to destroy the Pridwin and kill Maxon. Because the minute you go to kill Maxon, the entirety of the Brotherhood becomes hostile towards you, and then you have to pick a faction to help basically destroy the Brotherhood.
Yeah, it doesn't really go the way that this would turn out, which is why it's interesting. Like, so what's the canon ending of Fallout 4 then? Because the Pridwin's here. Did the Brotherhood dip and we just didn't know? Did the Minutemen win and we just don't know? How did it end?
Maybe he fell off the ship on the way back. He died.
Just a bad turn of events, Maxim. Oh, Maxim, where is he? He tripped while he was out on the dock. We had a little shake. There's a little wind, fell right off.
Some turbulence.
Yeah, we had some turbulence. He's dead.
Also, I just want to state that I wish they'd shown more, not to be gruesome, but I wish they'd showed more of like the civilians of
Shady Sands?
Philly.
Oh, Philly.
Yeah. I just want to see like carnage. I want to see how heavy-handed the Brotherhood was going to be.
He wants the violence.
Well, I just think it would be, maybe show some of the people that we'd already met in Philly.
Dead.
I want to know what happened to Ma June.
Yeah, we don't know if Ma June died, or if the lady that exchanged the repair lady, if she survived, or if the tooth vendor
the weird
survived, or
piece, or yeah.
What about the government guy's dad? Is he dead? Probably.
Or maybe the guys that tried to beat up Max over the armor, and then seeing all those other knights come down.
If they just booked it.
Yeah, I think that would have been cool.
One of those guys is dead.
Yeah.
Got his brain squished.
Yeah, one of them did make it.
Like a melon. So, off that sidebar, back to Max and Quintus. Quintus steps up to him and says, "Your entire life you've been looking for a home. Build one with me." And there's a quick cutscene in between those two lines where Max kind of sees himself as a kid crawling out of that fridge and looking up at a knight, right? Like basically Max's inception story, or his, what's the word?
Origin story?
Thank you. Basically, it's Max's origin story. And how he came across the Brotherhood of Steel and how he joined the Brotherhood of Steel. And so Quintus is basically saying, let's do it. Let's start a new chapter of the Brotherhood. You and me can do it. You have the information. Let's find it and take over the wasteland.
When Max did that flashback, I thought they were going to show that it was Quintus was the knight.
I could see that.
Somebody called it like in the first episode that we met him.
I said that. I said, is that Quintus? Or is that the elder or whatever? Is that the guy? Is he the one that found him? Is he the father figure?
We don't ever know who actually said that.
Was it just me or this Max's flashback here? It took me that long to realize that the cut, like Max's scar that he's had on his chin, he got that cut when the bombs fell and he's like climbing out of the fridge and it's like all bleeding.
I did not even notice.
Yeah,
I didn't notice he had a scar.
Yeah, so he's got a scar, and I was always wondering where that came from, but that flashback has been shown a few times, and I guess I never noticed that he had a cut as a kid. Like, it was new and it was bleeding. I don't know.
No.
You know what my thing was? He always steps out of this fridge, and literally when he opens the door, you can see through the back of the fridge.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
So
There's
how did it work?
Vent.
How is he not a ghoul?
Don't worry.
Hear me out. What if it wasn't a nuke that was dropped? What if it was just a massive-ass bomb?
I mean, there was a lot of people that's melted in that scene, too. Like, you can actually see the bodies, like, melted onto the concrete.
Yeah, they're like charred skeletons.
But maybe they've got, like, a different type of bomb.
It would explain why they could walk so close to the edge.
Without radiation?
Yeah. Maybe the fridge was back-to-back with another fridge. So they got each other covered.
Maybe it was up against a wall, and the wall of that whatever is gone.
I don't know. It always just kind of weirded me out that I was like, hey, but you can see through it. Like, it just seemed like a little thing, which is interesting because we talked about, TooRissky just pointed out, the scar on his chin is from that scene. Yet somehow they neglected to think about the fact that the fridge had a hole in it. I don't know. It's like you're very specific here and then not there. Kind of a weird inconsistency.
More theories kind of about that. Shady Sands being bombed, but I'll bring them up later.
All right, and after the Brotherhood, we are back with Lucy. And Lucy is finally approaching her destination. She's finally getting to Moldaver at the Observatory.
Did anybody else think, like, right as she comes into the view, when this scene opens, did anybody else think she looks like airbrushed, photoshopped, or like maybe had a shower in Vault 4, but I don't know when she would have had time to do that? Anybody else think that?
I mean, possibly.
She definitely looks cleaner than she should be.
Yeah.
I will note there's been a couple of times where her hair has looked a little too good for how long she's been in the wasteland.
I mean, your hair never changes in the game, right? So
yeah, but still, with her being a real living, breathing human, not a video game character, you'd think there'd be a little bit more, like, you know, wear and tear on the hair per se. I mean, I guess.
And like oily hair.
Well, no, maybe they've got some really good like hairspray or something.
Dry shampoo.
Yeah, she's just been dry shampooing the whole time.
Well, it's just like you never see her brush her hair or nothing, so it's just like, dang, how is girl's hair always on fleek? Yet she doesn't brush it or nothing.
The dry shampoo of the wasteland is just the dirt in the air.
Ugh. Yeah,
it's
the
just,
radiation in the air.
Just constant.
But anyway, yeah, so you said she even looked a little like photoshopped or something. I didn't see it. She's always had
her
big,
eyes
giant
gigantic.
eyes. They are gigantic.
She does have large eyes.
She does have big eyes normally, but they just seem abnormally large.
I think maybe because it was like going straight up on her face, right? This episode has a lot of like close to the face shots, and it does make her eyes look even bigger.
Oh yes, it's just because we've never been that zoomed in on her.
We had to have at some point, but
sidebar, Furiosa's trailer with Anya Taylor-Joy, I thought the same thing. Like, there's no way her eyes are that big.
She does have big eyes.
And then they were that big.
Yeah.
They were that big.
So maybe it's just the same effect.
Yeah, big eyeballs effect.
Yeah.
They've got one of those Snapchat filters on for big eyeballs. Okay, well, anyway, so she makes it to the observatory. Two guns step up, and they're two guards, two guns.
Two guns.
I was going to say two guns step up and point their guards at her, which makes no sense.
Two guns walk into a bar.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
That's gonna be fun to Photoshop into the final edit.
So you have to switch those. 2 guards step up behind, and they like cock their guns. They're looking all tough, and these guys look kind of like beat up soldiers, but also kind of like just ragtag people. But as she moves into the settlement, which has like walls and everything, her Pip-Boy says, "You've reached your destination," which is kind of cool. Like she finally made it. That was episode, what, 1 or 2 when she got that coordinates? And so she's finally got there. Took the whole season. But yeah, she just walks through and they seem to just kind of start escorting her. Like, yeah, no, she's supposed to be here. And it's cool because as she's walking in, there's like kids running around. There's farms. It looks like just people are trying to live, right?
Like a nice little settlement.
And she even sees like one of the ghouls from the Super Duper Mart, actually. And that ghoul recognizes her because he freed her, and he kind of like whispered, "It's her," right? He's like talking to some guy, and everyone's kind of looking at her because they're all kind of interested. Kind of a warmer welcome than you would think for Lucy as she gets to the observatory, especially because she came here to get her dad back and leave, and she thought these people were raiders from the very first. We thought they were raiders. In fact, a lot of the people that they captured seemed like raiders. So that's kind of interesting because it's kind of different. This looks like a family or a group of people that are trying to exist. Kind of different than what we expected from the very first episode where all those raiders did all that bad stuff. And even the ones they captured later were crazy and throwing food against the wall and doing all this stuff. So a little bit of a different expectation or a different result than we thought we were going to get.
Maybe she hired those guys and they weren't actually like part of
I could see that.
Her settlement. She's like, I need some mercenaries that are expendable.
Yeah, she could have gone and hired some raiders and everything.
You probably got a lot of money.
I mean, they even talk, right? Like, they talk about when Norm talks to one of the raiders, the raider says, like, yeah, whatever they were doing in Vault 32 wasn't so innocent. That's kind of an interesting comment for a raider to make. So maybe they are some NCR mercenaries or something, or there's some, something that they could have hired.
There's something going on.
Maybe not as bad as we thought they were at first.
I thought the settlement was like really... I liked the way like everything looked. Like the settlement to me was like appealing. Like it looked like, I don't know. I'm like, I give that place a thumbs up.
The cool gate with like the cars propped up on either side of the gate. That was pretty cool.
I like that they're at the observatory. It's like, I wouldn't blame you. I'd want to shack up there too.
Right. It's a high point. You can defend it pretty easily.
And... yeah, got a good viewpoint of the valley.
Yeah. Out of all the places in the wasteland, that place would not be that bad to live at.
No. Probably one of the better places to live. What's interesting is it does kind of have a look, like a view of the crater that used to be Shady Sands. Kind of interesting that it's that much closer to Shady Sands than we realized. Then we move to my favorite character, still, the Ghoul. And he's wandering around with CX-404, Dogmeat. He's passing some ruins. It kind of looks like the building that Max kicked a rock into and destroyed. Maybe the same set piece, maybe the same area. Because they do seem to be kind of covering all the same ground around here. But he's continuing across that landscape. You can kind of see some tall buildings in the background that look like the city. And the air quality seems to be getting pretty gross. But I guess it doesn't matter because he's a ghoul. And then he has a flashback. It goes back to before the bombs fell. There's a pristine Vault-Tec HQ building. Barb and Cooper pull up in his nice yellow car. He's like, sorry, I had to give you the ride or whatever. I bungled your oil change. And Barb's like, well, I appreciate you trying. Most guys that ride a car this nice, they wouldn't be willing to get their hands dirty, So he's just taking her to work. He screwed up her oil change or whatever. But maybe he did it on purpose.
I definitely believe he did it on purpose because it's like, oh, he bungled the oil change. My guy probably knows how to change oil. Come on. And it's just like.
And if you've done one oil change, it's probably not that hard to do another one.
It's hard to like mess up unless you're putting the wrong type of oil into your car.
Yeah. So
it happened.
Kind of interesting. But she doesn't know because she doesn't do oil changes. She didn't even want to move out to the ranch. Anyway, they kiss goodbye and he's like, all right, I love you too. See you later, blah, 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 blah. And then he kind of like, I think he puts in the ear listening device, right? So that's why we think probably bungled the oil change on purpose. Because if he could do that, then he could have the ear thing, and maybe he could listen into something they say at Vault-Tec.
Have an excuse to be there.
Exactly. And while he's doing that, Bud Askins actually pulls up in this tiny little car, and he's playing like this trumpet music on his radio. He's just the most irritating person you've ever met.
You just really want to punch the guy, dude.
You just want to punch the guy. And he pulls up and he gets out. He's like, "Oh, Coop, how you doing? Like, blah, 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 blah. Good to see you, buddy." Cooper is like, he's eyeballing him. He's like side-eyeing him, like, why does this guy have to be here? This is the worst. While this is happening, he looks over and Barb actually is stopped on the sidewalk and she's kind of like messing around with her Pip-Boy. And Bud asks, what's wrong? And Barb's like, my Pip-Boy, it seems to be acting strange. She's like, the transmitter is always activated. And you can see Cooper's kind of like, oh, I gotta go. Kind of like, oh no, they're on to me. And Bud's like, just take it over to the boys in IT, have them look at it. And this is kind of cool of Barb. She's like, no, I can fix it myself. I just need to figure out where it's transmitting to. She seems suspicious, right? Like, she's very suspicious about something.
I think she's going to find out or something.
She's got to find out eventually, right? Even if she doesn't find out this episode, she'll find out eventually.
I low-key feel like she already knows and is just trying to play it off like, oh, he wouldn't do that to me.
That would be really devious.
Yeah, and Coop doesn't seem like a super devious type of person. You know, he's the good old boy. He's the cowboy. He does everything straight. He was a soldier.
I mean, that would be really devious of her.
You say that, but then he's been like doing like kind of not.
Exactly, but like she wouldn't suspect that. She's the one that's super secretive, so she's suspicious of everybody. She's working for a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Somebody's got to be stealing their ideas, especially for Vault-Tec. So she's probably more thinking somebody's hacked her than my husband's listening into me.
I mean, to be fair, though, he has been very outspoken about her working with Vault-Tec.
Yeah, they have been arguing back and forth.
And he doesn't like the Pip-Boy.
Yeah, but I don't think she would go immediately to being like, he's bad. I don't know. I just don't feel like there's been enough proof to show that she's like, Cooper's spying on me, right? When there could be a plethora of other people. They definitely want to play up the suspicion and the suspense here. And we'll see. Maybe when they finally confront each other, she'll be like, I knew you've been listening the whole time, and that'll answer our question.
I could also see her like saying no to taking it to the boys in IT because like, I have an idea, and if it is who I think it is, then I don't want to get the boys in IT mixed up with it because then that'll get him and like my husband in trouble, and she loves him, and so she wants to protect him.
Tons of suspense. And this is when Cooper's like, well, I better be going. I got to go help Janie teach some roping. So it sounds like he's doing the lassoing stuff with Janie, which would lead to, them going to the party like it was at the first episode when the bombs dropped. So we're kind of like somewhere right before that, it seems. Bud actually pops up here. He's like, oh, I don't have kids myself, but I have a training program of up-and-coming executives. It's basically the same thing. And he's like, Barb probably told you, right? Barb probably told you about it. And Cooper's like, no, she didn't tell me crap. Like, what do you...
I don't feel like Bud's going to swoop in and take Barb.
Not even. He's just such a doofer. And he's all like, it's called Buds.
That's why it'd be perfect.
Buds.
I kind of like that name.
You like the Buds?
I kind of like the Buds.
It is catchy.
It's clever.
I mean, I like that.
Super clever. But it's very Fallout, right? It's very just kind of goofy. But basically, he's kind of rattling off to Cooper, and Cooper doesn't seem to be listening at all. He's like, the basic idea is that the biggest obstacle to achievement has been the brevity of the human lifespan. It's prevented us from working on... He kind of starts going to his spiel of what he's trying to sell, it seems like. Bud's just babbling on. Ideally, Buds will keep my project on track centuries into the future. Nifty, huh? And Barb's like, Bud, we're going to be late. Like, come on, let's go. And Bud's like, oh, big day today.
At that point, when she like looks up from her Pip-Boy and she walks over, I was like so scared that she had actually figured out like
where it's transmitting
from. But then she just like goes and
gives him a smile.
Bud, it's time to go.
Yeah, she just kind of like plays off. So maybe that's it. Maybe she does just figure it out right then. She's like, where's it transmitting from? And she realizes it's transmitting from the car, which means it would be from Cooper. And she's like, well, I can't do anything about it now. I'll deal with this later. I got to go to my meeting. That's super important. Because I think I would be a little bit more concerned if I found out that my Pip-Boy was transmitting and I had a big secret meeting to go to.
Yeah, I'm going to take my bugged Pip-Boy into my secret meeting. Seems like a great idea.
Kind of awkward, right? But anyway, so they walk off, and Cooper's sitting there, and he watches them walk away, and he starts hearing their conversation through his listening device. And Bud's like, hey, maybe we could all go to a cafe cabana sometime, you, me, and Coop. He's like asking to be a third wheel on a date or something. Like,
very weird.
I don't know. He's just a goober. As they start walking a little bit farther away, Cooper actually loses reception, so he can't listen in. And he's like, dang it. He takes the earpiece out, and he looks at the building, and he gets out of his car, glances around, and he enters that vault. He basically follows them into the building without them seeing him. Camera's kind of like being ominous and pans up to the Vault Tech building, and then title screen. And I don't know about you guys, but this is one of my favorite title screens yet.
I was going to say the same thing.
Because it pulls in the please stand by screen from all the Fallout games, and it has Fallout across it. And I was like, yes, that's perfect.
It was perfect.
When Bud and Barb are walking up the stairs, Bud like kind of trips and bumps into somebody else, and you hear him say like, oh, sorry. That's kind of a foreshadowing to something that comes later, and I'll bring it back up when it's relevant again. But I thought that was an interesting thing to take note of.
I think there's a lot of foreshadowing in that scene too, because like he pulls up in that small little car that has like a little dome on it, and he's all Mr. Buds.
And it's playing that little...
and that goofy music.
Yeah.
I like it.
Buds. Makes me think of like a cannabis farm.
I was just thinking that, actually.
Yeah, same.
Like, I was going to ask Banana at one point, I'm like, isn't there, like, a farm somewhere in Washington called Buds?
I believe so, but I can't remember.
All right. Right after that title screen, we move back with Lucy, and she's entering the observatory. The two guards open the doors for her, and she walks into kind of the big open room. There's actually like, it's kind of broken, so you can see the city. Like there's like a wall missing, like a huge section of the wall missing, but it looks like the dome-shaped planetarium part. So it's like the main part of the building. There's a bunch of tech stuff all over the place too. And then there's her dad in a giant cage, and he's sitting there like a prisoner. And
what do you think that cage was used for originally?
Really giant birds.
Yeah.
Looks actually like,
Snickerer would know about giant birds.
It'd just be like a bird cage that you keep inside so the birds could have probably a little bit more room.
Maybe you have like 7 birds in there.
California condor?
Yeah, it's a cage for condors.
That makes more sense now.
New California Republic condor?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. The two-headed New California Republic condor.
We have a 2-headed bear, it's a 2-headed eagle.
Anyway, so in a giant cage, there's Hank. We've finally got to him, and Hank goes, Lucy, and she goes, Dad. Hank kind of seems relieved, and he's like, Lucy's here. Moldaver is there as well, and she goes, welcome. Gestures at the table with all the food, and she's like, join us. It's my turn to host, isn't it? And she's referring to the wedding that Lucy had, where they started a whole fight and killed everybody. She's got a lot of good food there. There was like a lot of fruit and veggies and food and like...
There's a 2-headed pig.
Yeah, there was like a 2-headed pig on the table. And then there's also a ghoul sitting at the table. And the ghoul's like tied to a chair. And it seems like this ghoul is feral. They're pretty messed up. It looks like they're missing an arm.
It looks a little past feral. It looks barely...
Yeah, it looks like it's on its way out.
Honestly, it looks like one of the Fallout 1 ghouls.
Yeah, like it's just been falling apart. Like
literally, the skin is melting off of them, and like their insides are dissolving. Like
that would make sense because Shady Sands is from Fallout 1, isn't it?
Yep, and 2.
All of the both those games take place in California. So Moldaver invites her in, gestures to the chair, gets her to sit down or whatever. Lucy actually doesn't sit down, I don't think. She just basically stands there, and she's like, this is where Lucy kind of has a moment where she's like, it almost seems like she wanted to be like, the wasteland could have changed me, but it didn't. Because she's like, I had a lot of time to think about this. And she's like, I had so many ideas of what to do. It's like, I almost put a grenade in this head. She's like holding Wilzik's head. She's like, I could have put a grenade in here, gave it to you. And when you got here, blown you all up. But that's not how I was raised. And she looks directly at her dad. It feels like she's going to eat those words because it kind of just gets worse from here on out. Hank's, he's still in his cage, right? So he's just watching. Lucy's like, I'm going to keep this civil. She's like, I brought you the head just like you asked. gives the head to Moldaver, who pulls out a needle gun immediately. Moldaver knows exactly what the head's here. Injects something into it. I think it's got to be like some type of drill or something, but drills
like
in there.
Extractor.
And Lucy's like, give me back my dad. I didn't even realize Moldaver said anything here, but I guess she says very well. She pulls out a small bottle that has like this little light thing in it.
The little thing that wills it, like
injected into his head.
Yeah. You remember what it looks like from episode 2.
Which is kind of a weird place to put it now that you think about it.
I think it's just
whatever.
for safekeeping.
It's the best place to keep it.
Just right behind my neck. Like
keep it close. Keep it
quiet. Keep it safe.
I mean, I guess maybe he thought if he does get injured, they can cut off his head and carry that instead, and that would confirm.
I'm pretty sure he planned on that happening.
He planned on him probably dying. Not surprising. Yeah. He was stealing some stuff that people wanted. But Moldaver says, like, sure, I'll give you back your dad, but what if I tell you how I know him? Who he really is? And then Hank freaks out. He's like, no, Lucy, don't listen to her. Immediately.
That's suspicious.
That's suspicious.
Yeah, all right. Like, if you had nothing to hide, why would you be wigging out?
Immediately panicking, right? But Moldaver says, you think your father was born in a vault like you? Like your brother. And that's when we have a scene transition. And we're with Norm. And Norm, last we left him, was about to discover the secrets of Vault 31. And there was something making a noise, and we couldn't get to see it in the last episode, but this is where we finally get to see it. And we hear a male voice, and it sounds a little bit familiar. And it's saying stuff like the key to the future of, no, I'll get it this time. And it's like clanking and having issues. And Norm's like, hello? The key to the future of humanity. The key to the future. He's like repeating this line. And I feel like we've heard this line a few times from somebody else. And he's like, oh, this is ridiculous. The key to the future. Nope, try. And Norm finally steps around the corner. And there's a small robot. It looks like a Roomba, basically. And it's got a dome on it. And in the dome is a brain. And it's been trapped by a mop bucket and like a mop. And he's stuck and he can't turn around and get past the mop. Pretty great here. But Norm does free the brain. And I think, Banana, you called it. This is basically a robo-brain.
It's basically a robo-brain.
It's basically a robo-brain. It's not quite the ones that we're used to in the games with the treads and
close
like
enough.
The bigger body and the arms. It's more like a Roomba with a brain on it and like little miniature arms.
Well, hey, hold on with me. I'm assuming it's like a first generation one.
First generation robo-brain. Well, and if you think about it, then there's like in Big Mountain, there's even more robo-brains, but those are even different because they have like 3 screens as their face and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's probably a bunch of different variations of it. I think
a robo-brain's just anything classified that's like movable that has a brain inside of it.
A robot with a brain.
Pretty much.
Pretty easy definition, right? But yeah, Norm reaches down and he actually moves the mop out of the way, frees the robo-brain, and the robo-brain immediately thinks that it's Betty and says, thank you, Betty, and like kind of backs out finally and like turns and goes, wait, you're not Betty or Hank. And then the robo-brain scans Norm and says, you share only 50% of Hank McLean's DNA. And Norm's like, well, I'm his son, so like that kind of makes sense, right? And the robo-brain's like, no.
This is not good.
Norm's like, what the crap are you? And the robo-brain's like, initiate protocol 53. And he like slowly lifts his arm and he's got like this needle and he starts rolling towards Norm, but Norm just kind of steps to the side and then the robo-brain bumps into some boxes and completely misses. And he's like, no, sorry, could you just hold still? And Norm's like, wait, who are you? Like, wait, like what's going on? And he's like, robo-brain's like, no, I'm not gonna, listen, I won't answer your questions unless you let me inject you with this. Which is like, no, I'm not gonna let you stab me with this syringe, you little brain.
Hold still, please.
I could punt you if I wanted to. And the robo-brain's like, well, don't move. The secret must be guarded. Don't go in there. And this is when Norm starts moving towards like the door that you can kind of see behind him, towards technically Vault 31. And the robo-brain's like, no, don't read anything in there, or turn on any lights, or access any of the info, or look at a terminal. Don't do any of that. Norm finally gets to the door and he's about to open it. And he's like, stop right there. And that's when Norm says, what is this place? And that's how the scene ends. We found out who was at Vault 31, but we don't know really what else is in Vault 31 yet. We just know that there's a Robo-Brain, and he's chilling there, and he's got protocol where if somebody comes that's not supposed to be there, he's supposed to inject him. He's got to chase him down as a little Roomba and inject him with some, like, I don't know, I'm betting it's something lethal.
Possibly it could be like, I don't know, possibly like a psychedelic, a tranquilizer.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe a tranquilizer, and then I don't know how, but then somehow Brain on a Roomba would put him in a, I don't know, room.
Roomba. Gosh, this is
Roomba.
terrible.
Wow.
You
You made that joke, not me.
Don't you think it'd just be really easy to just kick the living crap out of that thing, like destroy the glass and just be done with it?
Drop kick it.
Sure, but like I don't think that's Norm's real.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like,
personality.
That Roomba looks really easy to just defeat.
Oh yeah, right.
It was blocked by a broom. Come on now, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like somebody just trapped it. You wonder if like maybe Betty trapped it just to be like, screw you. I don't know. But anyway, back to before the bombs drop, and we're with Cooper, and he's finally inside the Vault Tech building that he was walking towards. And it seems like he basically just asked the secretary to talk to his wife, but of course we know that Barb's in a meeting, so the secretary just took him up to probably her office. And the reason we think that is because on the walls there's actually like posters of Cooper, and there's like one that says like Cooper Howard is under the covers. They're like movie posters. Cooper Howard, hired gun, or whatever.
They're very Vault-Tech.
Very Vault-Tech, but like movie poster, right? So Cooper gets into the room. The assistant's there, and she's got a gray suit and an afro, kind of like another character we know.
Norm.
Norm. Yep, exactly. But Cooper's like, well, do you know when Barb's going to be back? And the assistant's like, I'm sorry, she's in a meeting. Something about vertical integration or something. And Cooper's like, above my pay grade, right? He's kind of cracking jokes. And she's like, mine too. And the assistant like walks over and gets him a glass of water and then says, hey, by the way, Mr. Howard, there's a new guy who works here with Barb named Henry. He's a really big fan of yours. And Cooper's like, yeah, he's called the house a few times. And the assistant's like, well, can I bring him here and let him meet you? He's a super big fan. And Cooper's like, sure, of course. Always happy to be a fan. He's kind of playing the part of, you know, doofy actor, husband, whatever.
He's just trying to play it cool.
He's trying to play it cool. Exactly. So she leaves the room, and Cooper takes a seat and puts in his earpiece and starts listening. And this is when we start hearing Bud first. And this whole part, it kind of flashes back scene-wise, where it flashes to the meeting that Bud and Barb are in, and it flashes back to Cooper and kind of his reactions to what they say. So it starts with Bud, and they're in this like big kind of room. It's got like a table and desk and everything.
Like a circular table. It's really cool.
Yeah. They got like a circular presentation table. There's a big map behind Barb and Bud, and it seems like there's maybe like a top seating area on like the second floor for viewing. So it seems like they're presenting to this group of people. It kind of cuts around and it shows each one too. And this is the fun part, right? So we get to see a couple people here. It shows Robco, West Tech, RepCon, and Big Mountain. So for Robco, that's Robert House from Fallout New Vegas.
That's my boy.
That's the guy.
That's the guy.
That's pretty sweet that they show him and they've tied in Fallout New Vegas.
Well, like, you know his face. It's like, who are all these other schmucks?
Wait, so that's actually Mr. House from New Vegas?
Exactly.
The Mr. House?
That's the Mr. House from New Vegas.
Robert Edwin House.
Yep. And then we've got West Tech, which I believe is from Fallout 1 and 3. I think West Tech's involved.
West Tech, I believe, is in every Fallout game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, the head of West Tech... Oh, is that... No.
No, Leon von Felden is not like the head guy.
I think it's one of the other... It's Big Mountain that I was thinking of. I was jumping the gun. That's...
No, you're good, though. But, like, West Tech has been in every Fallout game, so that's kind of interesting. They're one of the big corporations. And then you got RepCon. Apparently, RepCon is represented in Fallout New Vegas as well, if I remember correctly. You go into, like, their building.
It's resend the ghouls to, like, somewhere else.
Yeah, so, like, they've got their representations in Fallout New Vegas. And then you've got, this was really cool, they've got Big Mountain there. And I don't think this guy's one of the brains from Big Mountain. I think he's just a
like
rep.
Some of these are just representatives and not necessarily like the CEO.
No, I think these are the head reps because like Robert House is there. These guys we've never seen before, but they've also never really shown us any of like who runs the company of those people.
Most of these people are probably dead.
Okay, but he's not one of the main scientists from Big Mountain.
No, but hear me out. If I'm not mistaken, Big Mountain was a science research facility for the Department of Defense, the DoD.
Yes, but Frederick Sinclair is not any of those brains, so he's none of those guys.
He's the brains behind the Sierra Madre, though.
Frederick Sinclair?
Yes.
You are right. That's what it was. I was like, I knew that name was
Frederick
familiar.
Sinclair was the man who built the Sierra Madre Casino for Vera Keys before Dean Domino completely fucked him over.
That's why I also flipped some crap.
Yes. Okay, cool. So he worked with Big Mountain? Interesting.
Yes. Big Mountain created the Red Mist for, well, they helped create the auto docks, but they're also part of the reason why the Red Mist is there.
That makes so much more sense. But I was like, I know I've heard Frederick Sinclair.
I'm glad I could tie that in for you.
Yeah, no, that was great. You connected that for my brain. Perfect. But yeah, really cool, right? Tons of references from tons of games. I'm pretty sure all of them are in Fallout New Vegas. I think 1 and 2 have most of the other ones referenced, but like pretty cool. Tying in a lot of the stuff we discover later on with lore to this conversation right here and Vault Tech meeting with all these guys. And remember, so this is a big meeting, right? These guys got a lot of money, a lot of weight. And the Big Mountain guy, Frederick Sinclair, says, let's call this what this is, bud. Your sales aren't up to snuff and you need money. Basically calling him out. He's like, you're fishing for investors. And the RepCon lady shakes her head or whatever. And Robco's like, this is great. He says, you're one to talk, Freddy boy. You could lose money running a casino.
That's a direct reference to the Sierra Madre right there.
Yep, it's a direct reference to the Sierra Madre not making any money, being a terrible build, and then also kind of reminding you that Robert House was in charge of New Vegas. So if you don't know, right, if you've never played the games, then that's kind of a little thing for, the gamers that have played New Vegas and know who Robert House is. Kind of a funny little comment. And Bud's kind of just sitting there laughing a little bit. He's waiting for his turn. Cooper's still listening, right? So it keeps flashing to him and it keeps showing his reactions and he's kind of listening, trying to figure it out. Bud says, yo, our sales are fine. He's like, sure, the rumors of peace negotiations have set us back a bit, but we're here to offer you an opportunity. We'd like to collaborate on some of our vaults. Interesting. The West Tech person says, I don't get the vaults. When it's time to come out, what if people are still alive on the surface? They'll be Stone Age creatures. Probably will eat whoever steps out of your vault. Bud's like, no, that's not going to be an issue. Our vaults have the resources to survive for centuries. And he's like, meanwhile, our competitors, every other human who isn't us, will be dead on the surface. Because after all, what is the ultimate weapon of mass destruction? I thought it was kind of interesting because they flash to Cooper for this, and Cooper actually answers before Bud does. He says, time. Time is the ultimate weapon of mass destruction.
Didn't he already give the speech to Cooper, like when he first met him?
You're right, he did. So I guess that makes more sense. Maybe Cooper's still a dumb cowboy and he just remembers things. But yeah, so he gives the speech again, right? Time is the apex predator. In the event of an incident, time is the weapon with which we will defeat all of our enemies. That is how we will win the great game of capitalism. Not by outfighting anyone, by outliving them. Kind of an interesting concept there, right? Like, why do you, what? First off, the great game of capitalism for saving the human race. Why is that your motivations? Right? I don't like that. And Robert House, even he says like, well, if you outlive all the external threats, here's my problem with the vaults. You can find a bunch of rats and it won't be long before they start eating each other, right? So who's to say these rats are going to survive better than the animals on the surface? He's like, sure, you may outlive them, but they'll probably kill themselves just as the people on the surface would.
Which makes me think about the video that Chet and Norm saw in Vault 32 talking about the rats or the mice eating each other.
Yeah. And like, how did they get their hands on that video? And like how, because like, yeah, interesting. Like, why even have that? And they freak out about the management. They freak out about the lying. 32 is an interesting case. I hope we can find out a little bit more of what happened there. I mean, it seems like they just found out that 31 was doing something. But, I don't know. Kind of weird that they had that video there. But it's a direct reference. Everything's connected in this show, and I love it. I love how
it's all
much they connect
connected.
stuff. Exactly. But after he says that, everybody starts freaking out. The West Tech guy's like, you haven't addressed the fundamental question. Repcon's like, it's a little short-sighted. Big Mountain's like freaking out. I don't need rats for people on the surface. They're just babbling at each other. And Bud's just kind of like staring around, looking like a doofer because he can't stop them from fighting. He can't regain the control.
Public speech doesn't seem like it's
His
Bud's
strength.
forte.
No,
Yeah.
not even just that. Bud doesn't seem like a leader at all.
No, he seems kind of like...
He does not have the leadership skills.
No, he seems like a follower.
He doesn't have the umph to be able to control a situation, control a room.
So while they're chattering, it flashes to Cooper, and he's kind of like looking thoughtful, like, where's this going to go? And Barb checks her Pip-Boy. And then she looks up to an observation room of this meeting, and we see the shadow of a man sitting and watching.
It's the banker from Deal or No Deal.
It's the banker from... It's got to be somebody, right? Like, is that the person that's actually in charge of Vault-Tec? Are they really behind everything? Because I don't think Barb's the one in charge. She's not the one who, like, made the decision about dogs, right? Like,
Definitely not Bud.
Right? Like, it's definitely not Bud. So it seems like we're kind of like, we still don't know who the overarching person of Vault-Tec is.
I think they want to keep that a mystery.
Watch it be Todd Howard.
I
I
actually hope so. That would be so good. That would be so good, man, if it was just Todd Howard up there.
The game was rigged from the start the whole time.
He's like, I destroyed everything in New Vegas. Like me now? Like me now?
I hate you.
I hate you.
My one thought, though, watching this is, what if it's a member of what's going to become the Enclave?
Possibly.
Well, actually, no, I take that back, because the Enclave was a faction during the, before the war. It was very secret.
Yeah, they're the remnants of the government. They're like the descendants of the government.
Well, it started out as the Secret Service.
Yeah.
So it almost makes me wonder, is it somebody that high up in the military, or like that high up in the government?
Probably. I mean, the government outsourced the survival of the human race to Vault-Tec, so...
It could just be the president standing there like, I like this.
I don't know. I think Todd Howard would be hilarious. I hope they cast him for it just because. But I think that would be a huge troll to all the... It'd be too distracting for the show.
Yeah, honestly, it would be.
But, like we said, Bud's not the leader. Barb kind of is. So she sees that message, and then she says, hey, if I could perhaps refocus this conversation. And everybody actually shuts up when Barb starts talking. It flashes back to Cooper, and Cooper's like, yeah, Barb, set him straight. Like, he's like, I believe in you. You're going to tell them, like, what's what and get them to donate their money for this. And Barb's like, when I think about the future, I think about my daughter, Janie. How do I provide her with a better future? That's what I've invited you here to discuss. And Cooper's like, yeah. Then she says, so how do we design our vault society so our children have that better future? I suggest we hedge our bets. And that's where that scene ends. This conversation is kind of the overarching thing to build the tension of these scenes.
I always saw Barb as like maybe an assistant or somebody, like I did not see her as being like number 2, number 3.
That high up.
Yeah, like she's pretty high up, and I didn't realize that until this scene.
Yeah, like I think she's like literally right under the dude who like is running the main show.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the message from the shadowy man up in the observatory thing is running the show, and that Barb's kind of like the brains that like he's using to do what he needs to do.
Just got her offer of what's in that briefcase, and she's
Oh my gosh.
deciding, no deal.
It seems like she's going for the deal, but we'll get back to that. Now we're with Norm, and we're back in Vault 31. Norm's we just left him with the brain on a Roomba. And he's heading into the room, and the brain on the Roomba's following him and being like, wait, no, I'm the overseer here. My orders must be followed. Why isn't this working? This is conflict resolution 101. Like he's talking to himself.
They're not obeying me. What is going on?
Right?
That I had a wild idea last episode that maybe Vault 31 was entirely governed by robots. And the brain on a Roomba is the overseer here.
It's just the overseer here. So we were kind of figuring stuff out from the beginning. We even kind of theorized what was
I
happening.
know my vault tech.
I had my own theory, but it was wrong. Well,
I mean, with vaults, we can have any theory, right? It could be anything.
I know Fallout.
But Norm asks then, where's the rest of the vault? Brain on a Roomba says, well, this is the rest of the vault. And Norm's like, well, is this where my dad's from? And the brain on the Roomba's like, you're never going to find out. And then Norm turns on the lights and he's like, oh, he's going to find out. Stupid brain on a Roomba. And you hear like some mechanical sounds, the lights come on. And that's when it reveals a bunch of cryopods. And they go back like a long hallway with a bunch of cryopods and a bunch of people frozen in them. And then there's about like 15-ish that look empty. Brain on a Roomba says, these are buds.
oh my god.
My buds. America outsources survival of this country to the private sector, but it would have been insane to keep a failed nation alive, so we just kept Vault Tech alive instead. It's Bud. Bud is the brain on the Roomba, and they turned him into a robo-brain that manages all these cryo-froze buds, and he's waking them up and basically sending them over to Vault 33 or 32 to be the overseers.
So, hear me out. Does that mean Norm and Lucy are over 200 years old?
No,
No.
not at all. No, so you even see this. So they look at some of the life support stuff, and one of them's Hank McLean. So their dad has been frozen and was part of this. Entered October 23rd, 2077. Exited August 9th, 2268. So almost 200 years there, Hank McLean was frozen. And then there's the other one, Betty Pearson, executive assistant. Life support status reactivated 2077, exited, and I guess it was too blurry to see because we don't have the date on that one. But it's got to be before Hank because she was an overseer of the past.
And she's a lot older.
So very interesting here that's where they came from. And I think the idea is that they wake one of them up, they send them over to Vault 33 or 32, they marry someone and kind of breed with them. And the brain on the Roomba says, like, a well-trained staff of highly supervised junior executives from my own assistant training program. Because the future of humanity comes down to one word: management.
Gross.
Makes me feel so icky. Hate it.
Makes me feel...
He's like one of those shift supervisors that reports everything to your boss.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm telling.
I mean, one of his protocols is to inject you with, like, a needle. Like, what are you trying to do, bud?
It's conflict resolution 101. Inject people with needles.
Inject people with needles. Tell them to stop. They should listen.
I'm calling OSHA.
But anyway, super crazy. So this is the mystery of Vault 31. There is no Vault 31. It's basically just a bunch of cryopods like Fallout 4.
Which we also called.
Yep,
that was another one. So not only is it managed by robots, which we called, then we also called that it was a bunch of cryo-froze people. We were pretty good on that. We know our vaults and we know how they work, so pretty cool.
At the same time, I wouldn't say that it's like predictable, because there's some shows that are predictable and they're not great shows.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's like, it's really well done. I guess we just like to speculate and throw out ideas. And
Yeah.
some of them hit.
Yeah, to be fair, we had like 5 other ideas. Like, we were throwing everything.
We had a lot of ideas.
Well, it's like they took the go find my dad and then like just crammed the whole cryopod entry from Fallout 4 into there too, somewhere too.
Todd's looking at the script. He's like, this is genius.
What if I just mash it all together?
This makes so much sense. You guys are geniuses.
I'm taking notes for my next game.
Don't tell him that.
It's the whole thing in school where you just repeat what the teacher said back to him.
You're right, like, exactly.
You're so good at this.
Dude, that's how I got A's in high school. That's what the teacher said. Cool, I'll say the same thing. Over 16 times the repeating what you said.
Also, Norm's reactions, like his facial expressions during this like whole discovery of Vault 31 are so good. Moises Arias is a pretty good actor. like all the actors in this are so good, but his like facial expressions were like, wow, I could feel his horror.
Yeah, horror, right? Like, what the crap? Like, what do you mean everybody was frozen before that? Like, just crazy stuff. But this is another scene where then it flashes, after he says management, it flashes back to our conversation from before the bombs fell with Barb telling the executives Bud's idea. She's like, yeah, so Bud's idea is that we have 3 interconnected vaults, 31, 32, and 33. But we need more ideas. We need your ideas. She's talking to the council. Because it was the spirit of competition that made our companies great. And I propose that we bring that same spirit of competition to our solution. I don't like where this conversation started going. And when she says that, the map behind her, that huge map of America, starts lighting up with a bunch of different dots all over the place. I'm thinking those are all the vaults spread across America.
Yes,
But
and I have something I want to say about it, because I have seen pictures of the entire vault map. Why? Why is there a vault in New Orleans?
why not?
No, you don't understand how far below sea level New Orleans is. That'd be almost pointless. Everyone in there would get flooded and drown.
Maybe it's a bunch of fish people.
Yeah, we don't know what they were doing.
How would they even dig that far down if the water table's that high? They would just like keep getting flooded in every time they try and dig down.
Exactly, the soil's too soft.
They could probably have dammed it up or something. I don't know, but like,
I mean, they dug the vault right off the beach. Like,
yeah, right. Like that's where 31 is, right? It's right off the beach, or sorry, 33.
I know, it's just some of the locations don't make logical sense. And I could understand, Vault Tech with who they are and what they do. Why? It's just New Orleans is not a good spot to put a vault.
All right, so Dab Ninja does not like New Orleans.
well, you also need to put them near population centers to sell the idea that you're trying to put people in
Wouldn't
there.
Baton Rouge be a better spot then, though?
I don't know,
I
man.
mean, I think New Orleans is a bigger city than Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and we don't know. Maybe in this future they've built a great seawall that like was able to stop the water from being so underneath, in the water table. I don't know. They could have done anything. It's the future. They could have done adjusted whatever, alternate universe. They could have come up with something. I'm more curious as to what the vault would be. Maybe like they only get to eat gumbo, and that's all they get in the entire vault constantly. Or
Mardi Gras 365 days out of the
yeah, it's Mardi Gras every day. Like, right? There's a reason.
Every day's the party.
The thing is, you build a vault, they'll buy, right? Even though we know in some of the Fallout games, some of the vaults weren't finished. So who knows? Maybe that vault never got finished. Maybe because it was a pain in the ass because they hit the water table. We don't know. But they want investors, so they'll start building one in a populated area where people will buy slots.
I mean, like, I would also think the same thing with, like, the entirety of the Pittsburgh area. Like, that's just, oh, brother,
Why would you want to live any of those places? But terrible here, because Barb says, basically, we have over 100 vaults spread across America. Each of them, we want you guys to claim a couple. She's talking to these corporations. Basically, you can play out your own ideas for how to create the perfect conditions for humanity. Whatever you want to do, no one needs to know. May the best idea win. Oh my gosh, guys, this is why all the vaults are so weird and wacky. Because Vault Tech ran out of money because there was going to be peace negotiations, went to these investing corporations and was like, hey, we'll just give you a couple vaults and you guys can do whatever you want in them.
Here's a few vaults, go ham.
So that brings me to think that maybe the only Vault Tech owned vaults are the control vaults that are completely normal. Every other one is owned by a third-party company, i.e. why there's an experiment behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about I think it's like Vault 13 is a control vault, Vault 101 is a control vault. Those are the only two that I can think off the top of my head.
What's the Vault City one?
I don't remember. I think 81 and Fallout 4 might be a control vault as well. No, because there's the whole finding Curie and mole rat disease there. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I think there's still like, and even 31, 32, and 33 are technically like, there's kind of experimental stuff going on there.
A little bit, but I'd still at least consider 33 to be a control vault.
Yeah, they want it to be like a nice place.
Vault City is established from the inhabitants of Vault 8.
Vault 8.
Vault 8. Okay.
So I think Vault-Tec does have a bunch of vaults, and I bet you they did do some experiments themselves.
Probably not as bad as what some other people might be willing to do, but
I don't
mean,
know.
we already know they have.
Could be terrible.
Because the Vault-Tec themselves already has their management vault.
Yeah,
and
with cryo people and
Monopoly.
and whatever they're doing there.
Because they want to make money. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. How many vaults are there? What's the highest number we know?
100 and like something. 180.
I thought there was only like 118 or like 120 of them or something like that.
Either way, like there's still enough that they could have like 20 that Vault-Tec did. And I would not be surprised if Vault-Tec did weird experiments in some of them.
Because it really makes me wonder of who owned Vault 87 from Fallout 3. Was that a Vault-Tec vault? Was that West Tech? Was that Robco? Was that like Repcon? Because that's where all the super mutants in the Capital Wasteland come from.
Yeah, so who did the super mutants? Probably, yeah. I don't know.
Because I know in Fallout 76 and Fallout 4, the super mutants are because of West Tech.
I already have your answers for all of it. There's 122 vaults, and only 17 were actually designed to work properly.
Only 17.
Damn.
That's not good.
Those odds aren't great.
So let the best man win that you get in the cool vault and don't get shit on.
Barb did keep saying we want to get into one of the good vaults.
Like, she seems to know there's going to be some bad vaults.
They're mostly going to be bad.
This whole concept too, like when she says you can play out your own ideas.
It's gonna be D&D in my vault.
Makes
Hell
me,
yeah.
Yeah, like D&D, or like it made me think of like when I was a little girl and I had like Barbie dolls and a doll house and I could play out my own ideas, and then I would just feel like if I were a vault dweller, I would feel like just some rich executive's plaything that they could experiment on. Like, I don't like that idea.
You know what that makes me think of?
Tranquility Lane.
No, the Fallout 3 comic that came out called A Man and a Box of Puppets, where it's just a man and a box of puppets locked in a vault by himself. It's just like
the worst. And not even the worst, but one of the worst.
Yeah, because if you can think about stuff like that, there's also, I think there's a Vault 68 and 69, which are basically the same things, like mostly men with one woman, and then mostly women with one man. There's the super mutants, there's the drugs, there's the cloning. Like, what we already know from the Vault-Tec lore is just mind-blowing.
Yep. And now we know how it all came about. A bunch of friggin' corporations getting the power from Vault-Tec because Vault-Tec needed money to invest.
I need more money.
We need more money.
Dutch.
I got one more plan, Vault-Tec. We're gonna sell out.
Back to Vault 31. We're with Norm again, and he finally turns away from those cryopods, and he talks to the brain on the Roomba, and he says, so what's Vault 32 and 33? Just people to be controlled? And the brain on the Roomba's like, what? No! When you put it like that, it kind of sounds downright morally questionable. Yeah. And then he says this, like he says that, and then his next sentence is just as bad. They're our breeding pool. The ultimate expression of HR R&D. Are you kidding me? You can't say like, that sounds morally questionable. We just use them to breed. Genetically selected to breed with my buds to create a class of super managers. People with positivity. People who make lemonade. People who inherit the earth after we've wiped the surface clean. And Norm's like, wait, we wiped the surface clean? We wiped the surface clean? Vault-Tec wiped the surface clean? Interesting.
Nah, humanity, right? Not Vault-Tec. They wouldn't do that.
They wouldn't do that, right? But I just
they
love
told
that.
us it was cool. They told me this place was cool.
Right. It's confirmed that Vault 32 and 33 are literally there so that they can breed with these managers, and that's kind of the, I guess, experiment in a way. But I guess the idea is that they're basically managing these two vaults and trying to make these people really good people in their eyes, so that eventually when they come out of the vaults, they'll have bred a group of people that are just all a bunch of Vault-Tec zealots.
Just the perfect breed of humans.
The aristocracy type
and
of...
to that point, Betty doesn't have any children, right?
You're right.
That we know of.
They don't point it out. What if, what were the two derpy guys that ran against her?
Reg and Woody?
Yeah, maybe Reg.
No.
You don't think so?
Imagine getting beaten in an election by your mom.
Oof. I mean, she's a Bud's bud.
He is Bud's bud.
I'm thinking maybe when the kids get old enough, they get sent back to maybe the other vault, and then they're refrozen.
I mean, it could be like one of the more messed up vaults in the Fallout lore, where when they turn 18, if they don't meet certain requirements, they get,
Yeah, that's true.
executed.
That is, yep. They have to make.
I don't think so, because that's a little dark
Maybe.
for what they're trying to promote in this vault. Like, they want people to be happy-go-lucky, positive people.
If you're not getting those stats, though.
Yeah, but if they want the best of the best.
But like what? Oh, they disappeared because they went to Vault 31.
Maybe they died in the famine.
Actually, hear me out. All those people in the other vault that are like kind of going over there are kind of the more derpy people.
Oh, over to 32?
Yeah.
That Steph's going to be in charge
I
of?
don't know. I feel like Betty outright lied about Lucy's mom.
Well, if you think about it, all the other people in that vault were first butchered.
I don't think they're refreezing anybody.
No, because then Lucy and Norm would be refrozen, and because they're direct descendants of Hank, they've stayed in Vault 33. Like, nothing's happened to them. And they're
I
probably over 18.
don't think they're going to refreeze them. Yeah, I don't think they're refreezing anybody. I think it's 100% just like they've got a bunch of people in Vault 31 that are frozen, maybe like hundreds of them. We don't know. The hall kind of looks endless. I think they just wake one up when they need one and they send them over. They're all from before the bombs fell because they were all loyal to Vault Tech. That was kind of the idea. You have to be a Bud's bud to be able to manage. Then we seen transition back to the meeting with the council, Robco, Repcon, Big Mountain, all of them, West Tech. The executives are kind of excited about what Barb's just proposed. And Big Mountain immediately was like, we could intentionally overcrowd a vault so people have to compete to survive inside it. Terrible idea out the gate. And then Repcon's like, we have been developing a robot that delivers milk to the front door. It's quite intelligent. I would like to see a vault governed by it. Gosh, so they want to put a robot in charge of everybody, and it's smart enough to deliver milk is their prerequisite. Bud is like he's like, oh, these ideas are great. And West Tech's like, what about using a vault to develop a super mutant soldier using illegal immigrants? So there you go. There's your West Tech going on with their super mutant crap.
And this begins the FEV virus and the birth of super mutants.
Right? I like that he says using illegal immigrants. Like, wait, what? Why?
Why did he be so specific about that?
Right? Yeah. Why did he have to be specific about that? And then it keeps going. Like, this is the crazy part. It cuts to Cooper, and he's like kind of looking horrified almost as he's listening to all these ideas. And
I mean, I would be too, homie.
Right? Well, it gets worse. We could pump psychotropic drugs into the air supply.
Oh, that's 106, 108. That's from Fallout 3.
It's 106. I actually looked all of these up, and they are all vaults. So the overcrowded
they
vault.
are all referencing vaults from Dane.
That's Vault 27. Vault governed by a milk delivery robot is Vault 51. Super Mutant Soldier is Vault 87.
Yep.
Psychotropic Drugs is 106. And then the next one is Vault 75.
Which is separate parents and children, and only the smartest kids reach adulthood.
Yep, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yep.
And it's just like, dude, that is so dark.
Well.
Oh, they wouldn't do nothing like, oh, yes, they absolutely would. Vault 11, they vote for what the Overseer at the end of every year gets, sacrificed as a martyr.
Yep. They disappeared.
So, they absolutely would do something like that in a vault that's supposed to be, loving and caring and happy-go-lucky.
Well, just when we get to thinking that that's darkest, it gets even worse. Because Robert House is like, well, that's a fun idea. There's a lot of earning potential with the end of the world. And I don't understand how any of those ideas had anything to do with earning money. They just sound like terrible torture ideas. But anyway. But we're talking about making a significant investment based on a hypothetical. How can you guarantee results? And this is when Barb says what we've been kind of beating around the entire time, wondering if this is how it goes. Barb says we can guarantee results by dropping the bombs ourselves. And it immediately cuts to Cooper, whose face drops as he hears his own wife's suggestion to drop the bombs themselves.
Let's just kill the world ourselves.
Let's just blow them up ourselves for money. And these ideas wouldn't even pay off. What would they pay off for? What type of experiments would these serve? What's the end game for those?
The survival of the human race.
How? Like,
sponsored by
the only one that
company.
might work, and it's still terrible, is they keep only the smartest kids and kill off everybody else.
I mean, maybe the super mutant soldier.
Your mouth.
That might work.
Maybe the milk robot governing things? But I don't know. It just seems like they've had some... I mean, the overcrowding vault, I guess, could work that way too, but like, this is just terrible. And now it's basically confirmed that Vault-Tech's planning on dropping the bombs.
Which is funny because there's a ghoul you can meet in Fallout 4 that straight up admits dropping the bombs.
Really?
From his submarine, yes. I just did the quest like literally less than a week ago.
Yeah, no. So I think what happens, right, is they just start it. If they drop one bomb, everybody freaks out and fires all their bombs. So they don't even need to drop like 50 bombs. They need to drop one bomb. And that way it pisses everybody off.
That just gets the ball rolling.
Exactly.
You could bomb literally some nothingness area and that would just be enough.
You could literally just bomb Ohio.
Yeah, Vault-Tech only bombed Ohio. It's not that bad.
Yeah, nothing this area.
Just Ohio.
It's in farmland.
It's just Ohio.
Down in Ohio.
But there we go. We never knew who started the war. We never, they always beat around the bush. They never tell us. And I guess it's not like technically admitted here yet, right? Like it hasn't happened, but it sounds like Vault-Tech was basically like, yeah, we're going to drop the bombs to ensure that our investments pay off.
So you're telling me they got the hands on the football?
Yeah, they got their hands on the football. They wrestled that out of Trump's hands. But yeah, crazy stuff right there. Vault-Tech is the ones that started all of the problems that we see in all the games. And Cooper has overheard it. He's heard his wife basically say what he's feared about Vault-Tech. Not Moldaver, I guess. In before time, she's
Williams.
We could still call her Moldaver because we all know who you mean.
It's basically Moldaver, right? Like, so she's the one that said, like, it sounds like they're gonna do this. Charlie implied it when he talked to him in the bar. All those doubts and everything that were put in Cooper's head are true.
You know what I was sitting there thinking about for a while too? In 76, actually, when the Overseer comes back, you kind of learn like what the whole purpose was. And she's like trying to obtain the missiles in West Virginia, tasked by Vault-Tech.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's literally endgame Fallout 76 right there, yes.
Yeah, so you're literally trying to get your hands on the missiles.
Man and I did it hand in
hand. For Vault-Tech. Like, they're going to get those bombs so they have the control so they can bomb more people. Oh, my gosh.
But don't they put a twist on it? Isn't it so you can go stop the Scorch Beast Queen?
Yeah, but in retrospect, as long as you have your hands on the bombs for Vault-Tech,
you're the manager.
True. Because at that point, once you're in that launch facility, you can send them anywhere. And I do mean almost anywhere.
Pretty crazy.
Except for, I think, like, the front door of Vault 76 itself.
You can send them all to Phil Spencer's house.
Somebody actually already did that in 76.
That's what I'm saying. Like, recently, they were all mad at Xbox for firing some developers and some companies, and so a bunch of players went in and nuked Phil Spencer's house in Fallout 76.
But yeah, it kind of all makes sense. Like, Vault-Tech's after the bombs and after the power.
Yep. Crazy stuff.
They want to be in control.
Cooper's struggling with this. It kind of does that like ears ringing thing, right? Because he's just stunned, and he's his nose is starting to leak, his eyes are starting to leak. He kind of looks like he's about to break, right? Because he just heard his wife talk about that, and that's when the assistant comes back in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't all this happening while the assistant's like right in front of him trying to get his autograph?
The assistant comes back in and says, Mr. Howard, are you okay? And he's kind of like, yeah, I'm fine, Betty. Betty Pearson with the afro from our vault. So she's there. she's there. That's kind of interesting. And she says, he's so excited to meet you. And Cooper turns around and it cuts back to Barb. And Barb's like, well, a nuclear event would be a tragedy, but also an opportunity, perhaps the greatest opportunity in history. So he's trying to meet a fan, right? While he's listening to his wife talking about bombing. And his wife's like, because when we are the only ones left and there's no one left to fight, it'll be a true monopoly, which is terrible. Then it flashes back to Cooper in the office, and it says it's Henry. Mr. Howard, huge fan. I'm Henry, but everybody calls me Hank. And it's Hank McClane, but it's the younger version of him, which, by the way, the CGI here I thought looked really good. You could tell it was CGI.
Oh, to age him down?
Yeah, they aged him down, but still, it's Hank McClane, and he's one of the ones from 31. He's a Bud's bud. Him and Betty right there proving to us that they were Bud's buds. So, like, just excellent execution, honestly, of all these scenes coming together. You know, you got Norm finding out stuff, while Lucy's finding out stuff, while Cooper's finding out stuff. All of them finding out kind of the same thing.
Just in different ways.
Just in different ways, right? Very well written, though. Came together very nicely for this, and just the suspense was great. And, you know, Walton Goggins just does a fantastic job of just being like, what the actual fuck? Right? And just, he shakes hands with Hank, and it's just crazy. It's just everything's coming together. But Hank starts talking, but it kind of fades him out, and it switches then to Moldaver. Moldaver's telling Lucy about where her father's coming from, right? We're finally coming back to that scene. And Moldaver says, your father's been around for a very long time. And it's like, yeah, from before the bombs fell. Hank's kind of looking panicked in the cage. And part of an organization that thought they had answers to all the world's problems. Yeah, outsourcing to a bunch of rich corporations and having a bunch of experiments. I don't know if that's pretty great, but it flashes back to Hank then, and Hank's like, you know that scene, the scene where you shoot Joey Toro in the face? Fuego fuerte y formal.
Which is his least favorite scene.
I know, he hates
it.
Right? But everybody brings it up, right? Constantly thrown in his face. So this is where it gets all mixed, right? So, like, we're having a Hank scene, we're having the Moldaver scene, and then we're having Barb talking in his ear and saying, like, this is our chance to make war obsolete, because in our current societal configuration, which took shape without an intentional guidance, we have friction, we have conflict, we have war. And war, well, war never changes. Which was just, I don't know. I loved that part. I don't know about you guys, but that was so great to pull in the war never changes quote. She said the thing. And Cooper's just stunned, right? He's just dazed because
he looks like how I feel before I'm gonna throw up.
Right? I mean, he's leaking out of his nose. He's just hearing some of the worst things he could ever hear.
His life's literally falling apart.
Who he thought he was married to is not who he's married to. And then we flash back to Moldaver. He never told you where he's really from, when he's from. He never told your mother either. And Lucy's kind of looking at, she's looking between Moldaver and Hank, and she, because bombs being dropped, basically. Sorry, pun not intended, but bombs being dropped for Lucy as well, right? And Lucy's like, well, what do you know about my mother? She was like you. She was kind, loving, curious. Isn't that why you came to the surface, really? Partly to rescue your father, but to know why I took him? And like Lucy and Hank are, they're making eye contact, right? So there you have it. The bomb has been dropped. We found out that Vault-Tec's going to drop all the bombs. Lucy's finding out a little bit more about her dad. Norm found out that Vault 31 is a bunch of cryo-frozen people from before the bombs fell. Cooper Howard heard that his wife's the one behind the idea to blow stuff up, or at least is the one presenting it, right? It might be the guy that's up in the, the overview of that meeting.
The banker.
The banker from Deal or No Deal.
It might be the banker from Deal or No Deal, but crazy stuff to find out. Lore implications are huge. I loved the connection of everything in these scenes, and they all kind of came to a great head of Lucy's still kind of the last one that needs to find out a little bit more. She's the only one that hasn't found out for a fact what's going on. But the audience now knows.
And Max.
Norm now knows. Cooper knows.
I think Cooper would have a heyday in Lucy's vault. Or in the vault with all the frozen people.
You think so? You think he would go in there and just blast them all?
He'd have a Kellogg.
Yeah, he'd be a Kellogg. Probably.
Damn Frosted Flake.
But yeah, that's kind of where these scenes culminate at this point. And then we change. We're back in Philly, and it looks like everybody's kind of getting ready. Like, basically, after we left Max, the elder Quintus told him that he was going to be kind of his sword or whatever and lead this attack and show him where this technology is. So everybody's preparing, and Dane kind of comes in. What we find out here is that they're all in Ma June's little shop. I think it shows the sign or something for Ma June's shop, but there's a bunch of crap around, just like Ma June's shop was. And so what happened to Ma June? You think she's dead, or you think she got away?
I hope not. I liked Ma June.
I think she dipped out.
I bet you they're all dead, homie.
You think they killed them all?
It's the Brotherhood. And you saw how Ma June put up a fight.
Yeah, she seems like the type to stay and fight.
No, I would say the opposite. She seems like she has like escape tunnels out of her shop.
Right?
I could see that too, actually.
I'm kind of with Snickerer on this. I think she's smart enough to be like, I'm not going to win this fight. We need to get out of here.
And she was comfortable with smuggling.
Wilson?
Yeah, so she's definitely got a way out of Philly.
Yeah, no, she had to have some kind of backup plan to get out of there. And it's not like Philly was amazing. Philly was kind of a crap hole.
She didn't really have a choice but to stay and fight when the ghoul was there.
But yeah, so they're in Maju's shop, and obviously gone. And the Brotherhood of Steel is getting ready. And Dane actually walks up to Max. Max says, yo, thanks, like, for rescuing me. Dane nods and then kind of like is hesitating and then grabs a gun. And Max is like, hold on, they're sending you too? And Dane's like, yeah, it's punishment for what I did to myself. And then Dane faces Max, says like, hey, I was just scared of going into the wilds. I had no idea that they'd blame you for it. I'm so sorry. And Max pats Dane on the shoulders and smiles and is like, you know what? Like, don't worry about it. I was meant to go on that mission. Dane kind of takes a step closer and Max is like, hey, I met someone. But right now, she's walking into danger. And Dane's like, well, that's why you came back to rescue her? And Max is like, yeah, I'm going to leave with her. I'm going to go back to where she came from. It's a vault. It's this peaceful place and safe, and nobody ever goes to war. And Dane kind of like smiles here faintly, kind of like, almost like, oh, you sweet summer child, right? Like,
yeah.
And Max is like, what? What's wrong? And one of the elders walks in and says, maggots, clear out! And all of them are like, yes, sir! And they all start grabbing their stuff and they start moving out.
So back to that note of like that look that Dane gave Max, I low-key kind of thought it was more or less like, oh, that's a bummer because I kind of like you. Like at some point I low-key kind of thought like Dane and Max was going to be a thing.
Nah, I never got that vibe.
I did a couple of times.
Man, I feel like there's been so much implications on so many relationships these days that in every single show, if anybody's nice to anybody, the first thought is that they're going to be romantic. It just seems like it's been overplayed so much that, like, that's what we expect. We expect everybody to hook up with everybody.
Possibly.
Maybe that says something about our human culture and how we are as people. But
the feel more that, like, Dane and Max have always been kind of besties.
Friends.
And now Dane learns that Max is going to leave the Brotherhood. And Dane's like, homie, you're going to leave me alone?
Well, and that's what Dane says, right? Dane's like, listen, Max, there's nowhere safe and there's no leaving. I wish there was. So Dane's accepted. The Brotherhood's in control here. You can't leave the Brotherhood. I wish you could leave the Brotherhood. Nowhere else is safe. The world sucks. Like, just kind of accept that.
Because Dane has a lot of worldly knowledge.
I mean, they all do. They all came from somewhere else.
Dane was afraid to go into the wilds.
Yeah, probably because, they saw something out there that was not great. I mean, we were out with Lucy for a week, and think about all the crap that happened to her in that, 1 week. So anybody that was found by the Brotherhood and indoctrinated into them probably saw some crap. Max probably didn't see as much as, others because he lived in a nice town that got then blown up. But still, some horrific stuff has happened. So Dane and Max head out, and Max is kind of bummed. We see several vertebrates take off from the town center. and fly over this tattered Brotherhood flag. I think that's some big symbolism right there of, the Brotherhood exists, but they're not what they used to be. They've kind of fallen, lost their way, like the Elder said, even though he's kind of trying to do bad things. But they're not as great as they used to be. They're not as firm. They're crumbling at the seams. So some good symbolism there. And they fly away from Philly, followed by the Pridwin, which is pretty dope because that thing is awesome. Moving away from the Brotherhood, we're back with Lucy. Last we left it, Moldaver was kind of implying that she knew some stuff about her dad. Moldaver's talking to Lucy about her mom, and she's like, Rose was so clever. Like you, Lucy. Your mother discovered that something was siphoning the vault's water away, and from that one clue, she deducted that maybe civilization had returned to the surface. I don't get that. I feel like there's a lot of steps missed there. Like, why would siphoning the vault's water away result in you being like, oh, there's people living, and not thinking like the other vaults might have something going on?
Because if there's a sudden decrease in your water supply, obviously just between the 3 vaults, something is using up more of that water that would cause someone or something to take notice.
But how does she know that it's not just one of the other vaults?
Just like how the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 4 found out the Institute was there. They could see these energy spikes, i.e. the vault could have been noticing spikes and where their water is being used more than in the previous, seasons, years, or whatever.
But what would make you think that that's outside the vault instead of just the other vault? Like, why wouldn't it just be 31 that's using the water? And maybe that's the implication for the cryo freezing?
Do the vaults filter in groundwater?
I don't know.
I believe, as far as...
that was my guess.
They got a water chip.
Is that
I was going to say, as far as I know, they have their own internal source of water.
Okay.
Which is why I was saying if someone were to tap into that, it'd be noticeable because it is a, metered, monitored thing.
Vault 81's the only one that where you build the vault yourself, where it has like an industrial water purifier.
So if it's a purifier, then it would come from the ground.
Yeah, because
right?
because that one sits in groundwater.
Yeah, so if something else is accessing the groundwater and there's less water supply than normal...
I don't know. I think they just brushed past this real quick to be like, yeah, she found like one clue in that letter. We don't see all the clues that she discovers. Maybe we will later, but we don't know what that clue led her to find out.
It's more just like hey, Rose was really smart, but like this whole fact that she deduced...
This small thing led to that.
...is not that important to the plot.
Yeah, so maybe I'm just worrying over nothing, but...
Don't think about it too hard.
Don't think about it too hard. But yeah, so Moldaver says, like, when she told her husband, he said it was a ridiculous idea and that she could tell no one. So that's what makes me think that maybe what she found out was not that people from the surface was getting stuff. Maybe it was 31 using the water for their cryo. I don't know.
They shouldn't need any resources.
I'm still convinced she found out about Shady Sand.
It had to be something like that because she leaves the vault. And so that's what happens is she tells Hank, and Hank says like, there's nothing there. And in fact, Hank chimes in during this part and says, Lucy, let's go. Let's get out of here. Like, you don't need to like listen to this kind of deal. Trying to interrupt Moldaver. That's when Moldaver says like, and when your mom, Rose, realized that her husband, the Overseer, was hiding stuff, she ran away. Like you did, Lucy.
Been an Overseer for a long time.
Right. Meanwhile, Hank's like, Lucy, let's go. Let's get out of here. Right. Like he just is like, no, we should leave. Don't listen to her. Because now Moldaver's spoiling all the secrets. And this is when we get that flashback. We've seen this flashback multiple times of Lucy. And at first, it kind of seemed like she was maybe in the vault in the hayfields with her mom. And that she thought the sun felt so real. Turns out it was real. Which we guessed from the beginning and said it's actually in Shady Sands. And they kind of expand this cutscene. And Moldaver says, and she took her children. And this is where we see that they're in Shady Sands and they're in a cornfield. And her mom, Rose, is meeting Moldaver. And like, that's when she's a little kid and she can like feel the sunlight and everything. So she has been outside the vaults. And she was in this wonderful city is what Moldaver calls it. And that was everything the vaults had promised it to be, right? And Hank is like, she's lying, right? Like he's trying to make her not listen. But Lucy's flashback becomes clear in her mind, and Lucy knows, like, I've been outside the vaults. I've seen that city.
When it's Rose and Moldaver, do you think maybe it's not just them talking? Maybe Rose left the vault, started finding love somewhere else, wanted to be with someone else.
There's something later that kind of makes me think that too, but at the same time, it's just like
I just think they were besties.
I don't really care if there's a relationship there or not.
It didn't matter. What is the show?
Moldaver
An invitation to love. Basically, everything now is some romance. See, I told you. We just had the one that was like, was there an implied romance up there? I didn't feel it. Was there an implied romance here? I think you can if you want, but I don't think there's really like, I don't know. I feel like everything's now being like, they're in love. They're in love. They're in love.
I want to.
It seemed more like Moldaver was just kind of like the person that greeted her. Like, oh, hey, a newcomer. Oh, you're from a vault. Here, we've got Shady Sands. Come join us. It's a nice place.
Yeah. But I don't know. And to be honest, it doesn't terribly matter if they were romantic or not, which we'll find out in a second. But anyway.
Well, I was just thinking, jealousy can lead somebody to do some wild things.
It does give her motivation. Like, why would she specifically go back after Hank? It's the love story. That's what's important here.
Okay, Nick. So, Rose took her kids out to Shady Sands now. Moldaver's still talking. She says, but then her husband came after her. And when she decided to not return home, he took the children and he burned that city to the ground. Burn that city to the ground, like dropped the bomb on Shady Sands?
It was a real bomb.
Okay, Overseer Benjamin.
Where would he have gotten a bomb?
I was thinking that too, Nick.
Snicker, did you not hear me just talk about 76 and what they making you do?
And you get you attain all those bombs and everything. There's definitely more. Like, there's silos all over the place, and Vault-Tec probably had some spare ones put away. Because why not? It's Vault-Tec.
But you don't think sometime in
there's actually just a nuke inside of the vault ready to go.
I mean, there could be.
Yeah, they have a whole like silo just connected in between all three of the vaults.
You don't think somebody would have broken into those silos?
With it being Bud's vault, maybe they had like prepared beforehand in case they needed to drop the bomb on anybody. And so they built a nuke launcher into
in 31.
An alternative I could think of is they had some leftover access, like, launch codes from before the war that just didn't get used.
Possibly. I don't think it's a nuke either, because that would imply that there's a lot more radiation there, and we've already been by Shady Sands multiple times, and there's not been any radiation problems.
Well, actually, when the salesman turns Thaddeus into a ghoul and he asks for directions and he says oh yeah, the radio tower is past Shady Sands, Thaddeus is like, that place is radioactive as hell.
You're right.
Okay, but then how does it not turn Maximus? I don't know. It doesn't turn Maximus into a ghoul, and he was in the friggin' fridge and he survived. I did see people melted, so it could be a nuke, but then they walk up to it and her Pip-Boy doesn't freak out. So
maybe Thaddeus actually doesn't know that it's really not.
Maybe he just thinks so.
Maybe the epicenter of the crater is what's radioactive and not outside of it.
Maybe.
But isn't the whole area?
It could have been a low-yield nuke, meaning there's not as much,
A mini nuke?
Well, not a mini nuke, but a low-yield nuke, which means there's not as much, like uranium or plutonium in it, so it doesn't have as much radioactive fallout when it's dropped or detonated.
Probably. Something like that. Doesn't matter. The main thing that matters here is that Hank dropped the bomb. He blew up Shady Sands, and he immediately yells, "She's lying, Lucy!" Mm-hmm. And Lucy's kind of in horror, and she even has a flashback of her and Max standing on the edge of the crater. And Moldaver's like, that's how Vault-Tec deals with competition. Just like they did 200 years ago. So Moldaver's kind of confirming that Vault-Tec did drop the bomb. Yeah, they said it, but Moldaver's here confirming, yeah, they did that 200 years ago.
I also had another thought with this. In a previous episode, when Norm asks Betty, what happened to my mom? And Betty says, because I buried her myself, your father and I.
So Vault 31, basically.
Yeah. Vault 31, buried Shady Sands. That's how Vault-Tec deals with competition.
erase the competition.
Buried her with a bomb.
I mean, it works, right?
A little overkill, but you know.
But yeah, so Lucy now knows her dad is a horrible, horrible person. And she even has the flashback kind of happen again. And she recalls like more of that memory, right? Rose is standing holding Lucy's hand and they're walking around and Moldaver's there. And like you see those buildings in the background, basically before the bomb fell on Shady Sands, you can see it. Then we see, this is kind of interesting. There's a close up on Rose and she's wearing this necklace. And on that necklace is encapsulated, there's like a rose petal. So maybe that's like Rose and they got her a rose petal. I don't know. But that necklace is important, so keep it in mind. Lucy like remembers, like she's still in her memory, she sees like a red trolley go by and some buildings that are new. And it kind of contrasts, like this place was popping. This place was growing and it was a pretty sizable city. This is when Moldaver finally tells her like what was brought. She says, Lucy, what you brought me is a cold fusion. It's limitless energy. Now, if you remember from before the bombs fell, she was talking to Moldaver before the bombs fell, was talking to Cooper and telling him about some scientific stuff that she was working on called cold fusion. And it's supposed to be like limitless energy. And so Moldaver's kind of telling her like, this is it. We got it. She's Moldaver. And this is kind of interesting. Hank and Moldaver are talking at the same time. So I'll try and do both. But Moldaver was like, and we can build, and Hank's like, she's a murderer, our own world. Lucy, look at me. It could be a better world. It has clean water, medicine. She invaded our home, right? Hank's trying to discredit Moldaver 100%. And Lucy's just kind of like, she's seeing her mom and her vision, like her world's kind of shocked right now. Moldaver's like, and power, but for everyone. And Hank's like, Lucy, because when Vault-Tec, she bought my research, our people, they made it proprietary. So only a trusted Vault-Tec minion can activate cold fusion. Do not listen to her. All I need is for him to give me the code. And that's when Hank grabs a stool inside his cage and bangs it against the bars, like just smashes it, and it kind of shocks Lucy into looking at him. He's like, look at me. And she kind of looks at him and he goes, Lucy.
My homie's looking like a psycho.
He's looking like a psychopath, right? Like he's not really, he's losing here. He's very much losing. And Lucy's like, my mother, what happened to her? And Moldaver says, I think you know. And Lucy stares at Moldaver with a furrowed brow. And that's when we start hearing that ghoul that was sitting there earlier go, kind of snarling at the table. Roger, my name's Roger. And she looks back at the decaying ghoul, and around the ghoul's neck is that same gold chain with the red pendant around its neck. So this kind of confirms the radiation thing, because the only way to make a ghoul is either radiation or that serum, I suppose. That's Lucy's mom, is the ghoul that's tied to the table.
Isn't the necklace like infused into her neck?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
no,
the
it's
skin
like,
started growing over it. Is ugh.
yeah, it's kind of gross. But anyway, like that's Rose. And it's interesting here because Hank looks like he feels nothing, right? He's obviously feeling like Lucy doesn't want to lose Lucy, but he didn't give a crap about Rose at all. Like he must have made peace with that years ago. And I mean, he bombed Shady Sands, so maybe the jealousy thing was part of it, right? But
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. It's just very interesting here, and Lucy realizes that ghoul's her mom, and Hank's still trying. He's like, she's lying, Lucy. She's lying. And Lucy responds like, just give her the code. And Hank kind of looks like defeated. This is where, I don't know if we noticed this before, but there's a large NCR flag pinned to the wall right behind him. And it kind of waves and, it blows so you kind of can see it. So this kind of confirms that Moldaver and this group here are NCR.
What's left of them.
I've been saying that for so long.
Yeah, right? So, like, we talked about the Raiders, and, like, if she's NCR, like, Moldaver's NCR, but it raises some more questions. We'll get to those in a bit.
Well, it makes sense why that one farmer we met all that time ago had NCR armor, where they know where Moldaver actually is, because...
he was ex-NCR, yeah.
Ex-NCR.
And then with you saying that the one group of people she had with her looking like misfits and ragtags, that almost plays into the Camp Golf scenario in New Vegas, where it's a bunch of misfits that need help improving, their scores and stuff, so the NCR doesn't, kick them out. So it's like, whoa.
Yeah, no, it kind of interesting. Like so the NCR is still around, right? Shady Sands got bombed, but these seem to be the remnants. Lucy says again, "Give her the code, Dad. Give her the code." Hank kind of resigns himself, and Moldaver picks up a keyboard quickly, right? She's like, "I got him." Puts the keyboard up to the cage, and Hank stares at Lucy, and then he's kind of sad. And through the bar, he taps into the keyboard, and he puts the access code in 101097. And TooRissky actually pointed out that she's got to know here. It's pretty cool. That is the date that Fallout 1, the video game, was released.
Came out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's really cool, right? 101097.
That's in there. I'm like 10. I'm like, those numbers seem like really
familiar.
Specific.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet though, right? Like that's a cool video game reference right there. And also the bombs were supposed to drop in 101077. So it's kind of cool that
1023? No, 1027, something like that.
No, it's 1010-2077, right?
No.
Somebody look it up.
I have one other thing to add that like ties into like just another Mr. House reference. Moldaver's been waiting all this time for this cold fusion. It's kind of like how Mr. House is waiting all that time for the platinum chip. They've been like waiting a very long time for like these certain things that they could just never have gotten their hands on because like Mr. House had to like spend the number of years like out there like having groups search for the platinum chip.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like way lost on what we were talking about. I was like, what? Yes, the chip is somewhat like this, right? Like once again, they're over here just basically stealing the same stories that they've already told, which I'll allow it for season 1, but season 2 they better start having some original ideas.
I mean, they're not terrible stories.
No, it's not like they're terrible, but like you can start to see like once you break it down, you're like, wait a minute, hold up.
The entirety of the Fallout TV show has been so far a mix-up of 3 and 4 storyline with some components New Vegas added.
Yeah.
It's like 3 and 4 got told on top of New Vegas.
And it's just like, all right, that's the show for you.
So the tiny capsule and Wilczek's head's like in this little like she's got like a computer thing. It's got a chamber. She sticks it in there, and the device attaches to the capsule, and it like opens it up, and it rotates and it closes, and the letters on it line up and say Vault Tech. So like they took this tech and they made it work, which is insane because then they dropped the bombs anyway. They could have stopped the war, and instead they dropped the bombs.
Money.
So
my question about that: if Wilczek built that and he was part of the Enclave, why is it labeled Vault Tech?
Because the Enclave has extensive knowledge about the vaults and stuff.
Okay.
The entire, so the premise of, Fallout 2, essentially, is the Enclave coming through, going to these vaults, and, just eradicating some of these, vault dwellers and stuff. Which is why, such a while back, I was like, no, he's an Enclave scientist, he's not Vault Tech. Because the Enclave, for years at this point, in the Fallout timeline, has been going through and just taking over whatever vaults they seem fit for their own personal gains.
So do you think that's where the Enclave got all those Pip-Boys? Because
yes.
I saw a Reddit thread that was no, because I haven't played the games, no Enclave NPC in the games are seen wearing a Pip-Boy. But in the series, the TV series, all the Enclave are wearing Pip-Boys. So that's where they got them from?
Yes, because here's the thing. The Enclave went into Vault 13 and killed everyone there and replaced them with sentient Deathclaws that could talk, which then they later came back into and just killed anyway.
Huh.
Yeah, you find that out in Fallout 2, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, because Frank Horgan literally walks up to one of the Deathclaws and kills it with one punch.
One punch!
Not Frank Horgan.
Yeah, Frank Horgan.
I was sitting there thinking maybe some of the original Vault Tech members maybe went to work for the government,
Vault Tech defectors.
Yeah, maybe after the war, when it was starting to crumble, some of them just joined them, and the ones who had they were just the ones who had the cold fusion.
I don't think it would have been peacefully joining them. I think it was either join or die.
Well, in the beginnings, it could have been a lot more different.
Not true.
I don't know. Honestly, they could just be the Enclave, and Robco, right? Robco made all the Pip-Boys, so anybody could have gotten them. It wasn't exclusive to Vault-Tec that they only got Pip-Boys. The idea was those were everywhere. It just Vault-Tec utilized them the most.
The story with the Cold Fusion seems deleted because I just don't see no gain. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they wanted to pay off for their investment. Basically, Vault-Tec was evil just to be evil. My question's more with Wilczek, right? Is he an NCR scientist that got into the Enclave? Was he always with the Enclave but had connections to the NCR? Why would he want to defect and take this and bring it to them? How did he know about the Cold Fusion? What was his involvement? Why even do what he did?
But here's the thing. He also then talks a lot like he knows, like when he talks to Lucy, it's like, you're not from here. You're from a vault. And it's like, that's what makes me think of like, maybe he is a Vault-Tec defector.
Possibly, right? Like maybe he did come. What if he came from 31 too? They woke him up and he was like left.
That'd be cool.
Not 30. I'm thinking more like Fallout Vault 4.
You think so?
Somewhere around there.
One of the people. There were a lot of scientists in Vault 4.
He does know everything about Vault 33.
I'm still convinced it's the fact that he is Enclave and they do have a data log of all the vaults in the area.
That would make sense.
The same thing happened in Fallout 3. They had data logs on those vaults in the Capital Wasteland.
So, lots of theories on Wilczek, and I hope they actually explain some of that stuff in the next season. But we don't really get any closure on it in this one.
Now that I think about it, the Brotherhood of Steel even had a list of all the vaults in the Capital Wasteland area. Like, vault knowledge is very common for people who do not live in the vaults.
Wasn't the Brotherhood of Steel guarding some scientists for the government when the bombs fell?
What do you mean?
That's how they started. So they were in charge. They were assigned to protect some people, and then the bombs fell and they lost communication, but then they found out what the scientists were doing and how messed up they were, and so they took over and like killed off all the scientists and became the Brotherhood.
I know it starts with the original Maxon founding the Brotherhood.
Yes, and he was the general at the time that defected from the government because they couldn't get any response on why these scientists were doing bad experiments.
All right, now you got me looking up how the Brotherhood's founded.
All right, we're going to wait for that because I need Banana to confirm it so I don't sound like a crazy man.
The Brotherhood of Steel was founded by Roger Maxon, a captain in the United States. Blah, blah, blah. He was part of a team sent on January 3rd, 2076 to monitor progress at West Tech facility in California, which was conducting research on behalf of the American government, which we all know was actually just working for Vault-Tec. And later, his team concluded that they were relocated to the newly constructed Mariposa military base. Then discovered the horror that West Tech was doing with the West Tech FEV virus. Maxon, his team, everything kind of fell apart from there. Maxon reconstituted his men to leadership and formed the Brotherhood.
So yeah, basically they were protecting them, and then they found out that they were doing some sus stuff. They hit up the government. The government goes, "Oh, nothing, no response." Then the bombs fall, and then the Brotherhood starts.
They just kind of admit, they're like, yeah, we kind of knew what they were doing, and they're like, wait, no,
They're
I'm
like,
not. No,
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so back to wherever the crap we were, and that's when we talked about Wilczek and all the conversations. So it starts booting up, getting all over the place.
It looks cool, like whatever is happening in the cold fusion chamber looks pretty cool. Lasers.
So yeah, the cold fusion chamber gets all bubbly, liquidy orange up, and like we see the Vault-Tec thing, and it looks like Moldaver's kind of excited. She's getting everything going on her big computer. While she's doing that, Hank and Lucy are kind of looking at each other, and Hank's kind of sad, and Lucy's tearful and starts crying. I
really liked this scene because I haven't played any of the Fallout games, but I have played an Obsidian game, Outer Worlds. I don't know what it, like, this scene just gave me Outer Worlds vibes. Just like you have choices and they matter, because there is a quest where you have to choose who to give power to. Whoever you choose is kind of going to mess over the other people. I don't know. I love the weight of their quests, and like I got those same vibes here. Like Lucy's got to choose my dad or providing power for people and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I really liked this scene. I thought it was a really good one.
No, it's a great point. Like, she's placed in a position where she has to choose, and she chooses and convinces. She must have had some good, pass her charisma check or whatever, because she was able to convince her dad to put in the code and see what happens, right? Like, let's see this play out.
I low-key thought she was going to have a Courier 6 moment and just, like, blast her own dad in the face and, like, just lose it completely.
Yeah, well, that would have been pretty rough. I don't know
It
if
would
she...
have complicated things. It's just, I don't know. When I was watching it, I felt a lot like, is she going to shoot her own dad right here out of, like, frustration or anger?
No,
I
that's
don't
not
think
Lucy's
so.
character.
Yeah, Lucy's not an angry person.
I wasn't raised like that.
Exactly. She already came in here with the idea of peace. Then she's faced with, like, your dad's a piece of crap. And she's like, ah. But, okay. So we leave Lucy. She's all sad about her dad being a piece of crap. And we're back with Norm and the brain on the Roomba, Bud. Norm is staring at all these cryopods, and he's seeing all these different names and people, and he sees Betty, he sees Hank, he sees Stephanie, he sees a bunch of other people that we haven't heard of. He's seeing all that info. And Norm looks back at the brain on the Roomba, and he's like, well, it was great meeting you. I actually have to get back home. Norm's like, I think I'll go home now. And the brain on the Roomba's like, you can't go home, son of Hank. And that's when the door closes. And Norm's like, no. And the brain on the Roomba's like, not with what you've learned. And Norm's, you're just going to keep me here? That's when the brain on the Roomba says, well, just until we're ready to go on the surface. And Norm's like, that could be hundreds of years. Brain on a Roomba, like, he like backs into a little like corner thing, right? Like, it looks like he just parks his little brain. He says, true. That's why I suggest that you wait it out in your dad's pod. Unless you want to starve to death. Not much food here except the occasional very large bug. I'd certainly put myself to sleep if I could. I don't know. If I'm Norm, I don't get in the cryopod. I literally just find the button to reopen the door, right? Like, why?
Smash the brain on a Roomba.
Right, like Norm's smart enough to know how to probably get that thing open.
He's tech savvy.
He can hack.
Well, and the other thing is,
if not, I could see him sending a message to
33.
No,
Chet?
who's Chet? Because he was
32?
a door opener.
He was the door opener. Chet, you gotta come open this door.
You could find his purpose again.
You're calling. It's your dream. I know who you are.
You were born for this moment.
You were born for this. But it's kind of an interesting thing because it's like the brain of the Roomba just tried to kill me with a syringe, and now he's telling me to get into a cryopod that he has control over. Why would I do that? That just seems so stupid. I don't know. So they basically leave us with Norm looking at all the cryopods, and that's kind of where that ends.
And he looks like he looks horrified. He's about to cry.
Well, his world's been shattered. Everything he knew is completely not what he actually knew, and yeah, it's looking pretty bad for him.
Him and Lucy at the same moment, pretty much just having their minds blown.
Exactly. Well, and Norm doesn't know that his dad bombed Shady Sands yet. He doesn't know that.
And she doesn't know, like, what they both know is, like, totally different from what
right?
they know. And it's like, what?
Major discoveries, though. Major discoveries.
I mean, Moldaver hints that he's been alive for a long time, but
not to Norm.
Does Lucy even know that cryo tanks exist? Yes, she does, because the Vault 4, yeah.
Well, why would Lucy know about Vault? Oh, because Vault 4 is the one with the cryo tanks with those girls that are pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I like moved to Fallout 4 when you said that, and I was confused. But yeah, but I don't think she's thinking that, right? Like, there's got to be something, but like, maybe she thinks cryopods.
I don't think she's made that connection.
Yeah, but you're right, Banana. Like, they both came across huge plot points that neither of them know, but both of them need to. So eventually, I'm sure they'll cross paths again. And we are back to the observatory. Hank's still in his cage. Lucy's still tears, and Hank's kind of trying to justify what he's done.
Weepy Hoshi?
Weepy Hoshi? Hank says, I did what was necessary to save our people. And that woman over there, she's no different than me. And he's pointing at Moldaver, right?
Which I believe him. Like, I don't think...
Yeah, right. I feel like, Moldaver took a bunch of people in there and killed a bunch of people just to get what she wanted.
Do you think it's payback in a sense?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is like, to be honest, like, Hank killed off 30,000 people, roughly.
And she killed how many?
20, right?
I was going to say, like, 12?
Right? Like, not as much as Hank killed. So, but while they're talking, the loading bar is going for the cold fusion, And it loads all the way up, and then there's like some cool visuals, like some cool scientific-y looking stuff. And it says cold fusion ready, and shows the Vault Boy actually. So she's using Vault Tech stuff.
I thought was cool.
I mean, the Vault Boy is always cool. She's like going to hit a button that says test, and right about when she's about to hit it, a huge alarm goes off. Incoming aircraft! One of the NCR guys that's just chilling at one of the desks in the room as well. Incoming aircraft! And Moldaver looks over and she's like, it's the Brotherhood? And she doesn't hit the button, right? She doesn't hit it. And the man's like, yeah! And he gets up and grabs his gum and his gum. He's got to chew his gum while he's fighting. He gets up and grabs his gun, and Moldaver yells, barricade the doors, don't let anyone in here, let's move. And like a bunch of soldiers all grab their guns and everything and kind of rush out of the room. They kind of leave it. It's just Hank, Lucy, and the ghoul, Rose. And Hank's all like, Lucy, I loved your mother, but she stopped being your mother when she left home, when she took you into danger. And Lucy's just kind of still shell-shocked about it.
What's weird is that's kind of the same vibe you get from Fallout 3 when your dad leaves the vault, and he tells you to stay put because he doesn't want you to go into the danger, quote, quote.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I don't know, it gave off a very sentimental feeling right there. Like, she stopped being your mother when she put you in danger, but he's no better.
Oh yeah, 100% a hypocrite. Because he left, and like she was totally gonna follow him.
He put you in danger, so I had to nuke the town. Now
So
there's no danger.
Right. I eliminated the danger.
And put you in danger.
But anyway, so this is when the camera cuts to some vertibirds. Vertibirds flying towards us with the glaring sunset in the background. Did anybody else hear Fortunate Son in their head as this started happening?
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
The shot was perfect because you got these vertibirds all flying towards you and the sunset's in the background, and it's the Brotherhood.
That's like, down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I even joked to Mariah that they should have done that in the song. I know it doesn't fit the Fallout like theme.
It doesn't, but it would have been awesome anyway.
Perfect.
We'll just make it ourselves. Somebody just we'll clip it and we'll do it ourselves and throw it up there because it was pretty badass.
I got you.
But yeah, so Dane and Max, it kind of flashes to one of the vertibirds and they're in there. They're looking kind of worried about this, right? They're going to war. And the domes of the observatory actually open up, and there's giant guns rising out of them and taking aim. So they've made a few adjustments to the observatory. And the pilot yells, incoming, and swerves sharply. And when he does, another one of the soldiers falls out and then hits the blades of a vertibird below it, and it just shreds him to nothing. And it was just, it's like, what the crap? Why did they have to have this scene? I think they had to have somebody die in the vertibird wing because, like, you just had to. Everybody's thinking it the whole time.
To be fair, I think all of us have tried to jump into the blades of the birds in Fallout 4 just for nothing to happen at all.
Yeah, so this is like something did happen, and that guy was turned into red mist. Like, it was bad. It cuts back to Hank. And Hank's like, you've seen what it's like up here? Back to the up on the ground, somebody fires a rocket launcher and that blows up one of the vertibirds and it spins and it's going down. This scene's so cool, right? Like, this is the battle that we wanted. And Hank's kind of talking over this whole thing as they're coming in. He's like, everyone equally afraid, equally miserable. Max and Dane in a night are like, they're all there, and this knight's like firing a machine gun. And he's just shooting, and people are fleeing, right? Because they're like pulling up over the observatory and they're landing those vertibirds and everything. It's so badass. And Hank's going on, forced to do horrible things in order to survive. It finally actually goes to Hank, right? Because it's kind of him talking over those scenes. He says, Lucy, I had to make a choice between their violent world and our peaceful one. During that part, Moldaver walks out, and this is where we see a flag behind her on like the observatory entrance.
It's just a sign, not a flag.
It's just a sign, but it says NCR headquarters. New California Republic headquarters. It spells the whole thing out. But I thought that was pretty interesting, and it made me wonder, do you think that the NCR had established those as its like government building up over the top of Shady Sands already? I mean, they had like missile turrets on there. It looked like it was a built base, and maybe these were just what was left and they all kind of went there.
Possibly. I think it's more or less just a after the events of Shady Sands, that's what they chose to be their
It was just close by and already probably fortified.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it happened to not get touched from the devastation.
Yeah, one of their outposts or bases.
And they're just like, this is fortified, or it's a good enough point that can be well fortified with the right mentality and the right people.
Yeah. Anyway, and then Hank's going, and I believe, Lucy, I know I made the right choice. And then it's, the battle's still going on, and the vertibirds are landing.
When Moldaver walks out, she's holding a laser pistol?
Yes.
That's the first
point.
energy weapon we see?
Yeah. Anyway, and the Brotherhood soldiers are jumping out, and they're rushing the front gate, and people are shooting and everything. A knight's knocked down by a giant blast right in front of Max, and he runs past it, and another blast, and his ears are ringing. He's disoriented. And this is when they start with the fallout. They got the songs, right? So Nat King Cole, I Don't Want to See Tomorrow. Kind of a good one, right? Because the whole implication of this entire fight is like, what is this for? We're just killing each other for one thing, right? These factions are murdering each other. Like, I don't want to see this future, right? This is terrible.
What's the outcome of this?
What's the outcome of this? And so it's, it flashes back to Lucy, and she's kind of, she's still in shell shock. And it goes back to outside, and there's men killing each other. They're jabbing each other. There's like the flags are running by each other. A soldier crushes some guys, or one of the knights crushes a soldier's head. Citizens pile onto one of the knights and like tackle him down and kill him and like shoot a machine gun into his neck. There's a knight swinging down on a picnic table, and then you see like the two flags cross each other, like the flag guy for the NCR and the flag guy for the Brotherhood are like waving their flags right in the middle of the battle, just like swinging them around.
I have expected them to start
fighting,
swinging
sword
their
fighting with their
flags.
Like, just like, I don't know. They kind of just pass each other and like keep going, like leading their charges. I guess I don't know. But Moldaver's yelling, go, go, go. And she's like standing behind 2-barreled guns in the observatory, and they're just shooting stuff all over the place. And then it's back to Lucy, right? The contrast of these scenes, because Lucy's just devastated, and there's just war happening outside, and she's just crying, right? And Hank's like, if the problem with the world is factions endlessly fighting, which they showed us with the flags, endless war, what is the solution but to get rid of the factions? Which factions are huge for the Fallout games, right? Like, everything is about factions pretty much and what they're doing and how you interact with them. So Hank's just saying, let's get rid of them to make the world us, only ours to shape. And then it flashes back to the battle, and Max and Dane are together, and they're following a knight, kind of like he's like the tank in front of them. And the knight dies, and so they get blown up, and they kind of grab, and they get behind a wall. And it shows that just mass chaos, right?
At some point, didn't somebody get bayoneted or stabbed or something like that?
Probably, right? Like there's
a lot of that.
There's just a lot of war going on. People dying, people exploding. A lot of the knights actually falling down, right, in their power armor, more than I thought there would be. But anyway, not enough, because they keep pushing, they keep fighting. They break into the building finally, and the knights are just unloading on anybody in the building. It's kind of dark and stuff, and they start marching forward after they kill all those guys, keep moving inside the building to clear it. And all of a sudden you hear a whistle. And they all stop, and they turn around, and the ghoul is standing there. And the smoke's kind of settling down, and he's loading bullets from his bandolier into his gun. And if you look at the bullets, it kind of looks like makeshift ones, maybe like some armor-piercing rounds or something. But they're kind of weird-looking bullets. But he says, I bet that outfit makes y'all feel a big man, don't it? Well, I know, because, I used to wear one back in the day. There was only one problem with it. There was a flaw in the welding just below the chest plate. I wonder if they fixed that in the new model. And then he closes his gun and cocks it, and then shoots quickly from the hip, by the way, hitting the knight right in the torso where the weak spot is, and the knight collapses, and the ghoul says, I guess not.
He smiles.
Yeah, I love the ghoul so much. He's my favorite.
Great. I wonder if the people in this settlement knew about that weak spot, and so that's how they knew how to take down the power armor so easily.
It seems like there was a couple weak spots, because remember, they all like piled onto the one, and like one of them like pulled the head, and they just unloaded a machine gun right in the guy's neck.
Yeah.
There's obviously some weakness to them. Like, they're tanky, but like not invincible, right? So he's just killed him, and the knights just start like freaking out and start shooting. He happens to be next to like the power outlet for the lights. Yeah, so he just swipes the fusion core from that, and all the lights go out. Right, and this scene was done so cool. I loved it because like they're just unloading and they're trying to get him because they don't know where he is all of a sudden, and he's kind of stealthing through there, and all you see is flashes of him, right? And like the soldiers like, did you get him? And one of the knights, I can't see shit. And the ghoul fires his gun, and that's when you see it, like it just illuminates him because it's like the flash of the muzzle, and he's like pow pow pow, and a couple knights fall, and they're like, find the ghoul, find the ghoul. This is great. The last knight's kind of shooting because he takes down like 4 of them real quick. Like he's just pop, 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 just drops them all. The next one, the knight's firing, and you kind of see the flash from the muzzle, and you see the ghoul to the side, and the ghoul grabs a grenade and drops it right in like the chest basket, right underneath the neck and right above the chest. Like there's a little pocket there. He drops that in, and
he just dropped it on the floor.
No, he drops it he grabs it and he puts it right there. Yeah, no, he puts it right up next to his neck, and it pops the guy's head off. Like blows the guy out.
Okay, so that explains how
the power armor
later.
Exactly.
Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah, so badass, just destroys him.
I had
Max
a smile on my face like that entire scene.
That scene was so good.
Cool. My favorite scene of the episode.
Oh yeah, great scene. I mean, the ghoul is just so good. He's definitely he's the best. He's my favorite still. And Max was in that hallway, by the way, but he kind of sees everyone's dying and he kind of dips, right? He dips out the back door. He's trying to find Lucy, obviously, because he knows she's here somewhere. And flashes back to Lucy and Hank now. And Hank's like, open the door, Lucy, open the door. Let's go home. Let's go home. And Lucy's just kind of frozen. She's not doing anything. Then you hear the Rose Ghoul, her mom, is like making noises, and it's kind of basically reminding her like, hey, no, he's a piece of crap. Don't open that door. But Hank's still begging, right? He's like, open the door, open the door. And then there's like the distant explosion, and Lucy's kind of like, huh? Like it's finally kind of bringing her out of her stupor or whatever. And behind her, exactly what we said, where he drops the grenade in that little pocket and blows the knight's head off. This power armor stumbles in, and it's headless. This power armor with no head stumbles in and collapses. Like a chicken. And collapses down there. And that's when Max appears in the doorway, and he's like, Lucy! And he like runs over to Lucy, and he's like, Lucy, like, what are you doing? She's still kind of in shell shock. And Hank's like, hey, I'm her father. Can you get us out of here? And Max immediately just turns around and shoots the lock for the cage, because last he talked to Lucy, they were rescuing him. And he's like, Lucy, let's go. Come on, we got to go get out of here. And Lucy's like, wait, no, not with him. Right? She's still in shell shock. She's trying to tell him her dad's a piece of crap. And why not? What do you mean? Like you were coming to rescue him? And Lucy's like, because it was him. He. And Max is like, what? Like, tell me. Like, what do you spit it out, Lucy? She just gets out Shady Sands, and Max like kind of furrows his brow, and it flashes back to that scene with the refrigerator again. And Lucy's like, it was him. I'm sorry. That's when that headless fallen knight armor all of a sudden rises up behind him, and Hank has gotten in the power armor, and he says, Lucy, you're coming with me. And Max is like, yells, right? He's immediately like, screw you, Hank. Turns to shoot him, and Hank just slaps Max upside the head and smashes him into like the telescope thing in the middle of the room. And Max is out. Max is done, right? And Lucy's like, no! And she's like, Max, wake up. And it just, to me, it looked like Max's neck was broken or something. Like it looked like
I thought that would have killed him.
Right?
Like he got hit hard.
He got smacked by power armor.
Yeah, so smacked by power armor. I looked at this a little bit closer because I thought that he hit his head twice with the power armor slap and then being hit into the projector base. But it kind of looks like more of his shoulder got smacked into the projector base, but he's still like, that's a lot of blunt force. That would definitely mess him up.
Yeah, no, Max he's gone, right? He's out. So this is when Lucy's pissed. She grabs a gun.
She just kind of knows, like, now what kind of man her father is. Like, she's just now seeing it, witnessed it too.
Right? She just saw Hank slap who she loves now, right? Like, they kissed, and, like, there's a romance there going on. And she picks up a gun and turns around and aims it right at Hank's face. And he doesn't have a gun.
This is where I thought she was going to have her Courier 6 moment. I got it mixed up with earlier.
Yeah, no, she's pointing the gun right at him. And Hank's like, you see what this place does to people? I'm your father, Lucy. You came all the way here for me. You're not going to hurt me. But Lucy's like, I guess it shakes a little bit, but honestly, she looked pretty firm and like she's pointing it at him. And then that's when we hear a quick gunshot. Hank's like gets hit off balance, basically. It's like, ah! And it flashes over and it's the ghoul. And the ghoul's standing in the doorway now. So he's caught up and he found Hank. You can see Hank's face is like messed up from that gunshot. Like just
deep graze.
Yeah, deep graze right off the cheek. And like the ghoul doesn't miss. So you know he did it on purpose, which is kind of cool. And the ghoul says, oh, you want another autograph, young Henry? Which I thought was pretty cool because it's like direct callback. And then the ghoul even says, Fio fuerte y formal, right? Like Hank's just glaring at him and he's got blood oozing from his cheek. And he's like, when your daughter said the last name was McLean, well, I just couldn't believe it was the McLean. McLean. Sorry, I'm saying McLean, like Mr. Clean or something.
Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean. He's like, hell, this kid used to pick up my wife's dry cleaning. Right? The ghoul's just, he's so good at just poking buttons, right? And Hank's kind of backing away slowly. And the ghoul's like, I've waited 200 years to ask somebody one question. Where's my fucking family? Great alliteration here with the ghoul, you know what I mean? And I didn't notice this, but TooRissky, you put a note here that says like Hank suppresses a smirk for a moment.
That was in the audio description.
Interesting. So like he kind of like almost like
he knows something.
Yeah, he knows some stuff, right? Which makes sense. But still, I didn't notice. That's kind of cool.
Thank you, TooRissky, for getting the audio description on
right?
It's
yeah,
actually
pretty good.
Very fascinating to watch the audio description because it'll like take note of things that you might not notice.
Yeah, pretty sweet. But that's it. Like, so he's kind of backing away, and the ghoul's still pointing at him. Hank turns around in his power armor, and you remember how like you can fly with the power armor now? They got those jet things in the arms.
Iron Man.
Hank turns around and flies away perfect, like he's done it before, which is kind of crazy. Like he just turns around like and flies out and like flies off into the distance. And the ghoul goes, yeah, like kind of like, yeah, I knew you were gonna run, you little piece of crap. Like I knew you were gonna run out of here. And Lucy's like still trying to wake up Max. She's like, hey, wait, Max, come on, wake up, come on, wake up. Cuts around to the wreckage of the observatory, and you can just see everybody's dead, right? There's NCR bodies, there's Brotherhood bodies. Like the fight did not go well. Heavy losses on both sides. We don't see Dane.
Just like Helios 1.
Just like Helios 1. But we don't see Dane here, right? Like, I don't think they were anywhere in the bodies.
Dane is when they separated, they were hiding behind the
Up?
wall. No, they were hiding behind the wall. Max turns to Dane, gives them a nod, and then Max heads off. So that was the last time we saw Dane.
Okay. I was just curious. But then the ghoul says the classic line, because it flashes back to him. He says, war never changes. You look out at the wasteland, looks like chaos. But there's always somebody behind the wheel. And that's who I want to talk to. That's where your daddy's headed. And Lucy's like, but you let him go. And obviously she didn't understand what he was insinuating there, because he says, well, it's easier to track a stuck pig than to ask it where it's off to. Which, well, duh, right? Like, he's like, basically, we're going to follow him, right?
I just want to say that previous line of he wants to talk to the man in charge.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, that gives very heavy implication that Mr. House is still alive.
But I don't think Mr. House was the one in charge, right? We got to remember not the Deal or No Deal, the freaking banker up in the meeting house. That's the guy I think they're referencing. That's the guy who doesn't like dogs, who says no dogs in vaults. And that is the main ghoul's motivation through the entire thing. Just justice for his doggo.
If I would have went in the vault, my dog would have went.
So it's just John Wick?
It's just it's John Wick. They have no original ideas. But yeah, so the ghoul's basically like, Lucy, we're gonna track him. Like that's the goal here. He even says to her, you want to know how I know your daddy, don't you? Let's just say that everything about your whole little world was decided over 200 years ago. What's interesting about this that these writers do here is they've basically told us throughout this episode at least 7 times that before the war, all this stuff happened, and that causes everything here, right? They just say it over and over and over and over and over, just in different ways. And then the ghoul finally says it here again, where he's like, all this was decided over 200 years ago, right?
Which makes sense, because when you step out of Vault 111 and you ask Cosworth, and he's like, oh, roughly 210 precisely. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense where this all like kind of like it's around 210.
But it's just an interesting way to do it, because they've done it in such a way that I don't feel like you don't really realize it was beat over your head. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the writers are just blunt with it, but they've done a good job of like showing all this stuff, and like you get it, right? You put all the pieces together, and then they just finally say it. But like I don't feel like it was too much. I feel like we found out everything we wanted to find out. I feel like the delivery was really solid. So
yeah, just
really, really good
feeding
job.
us little bits of information. It's been really good.
Yeah, just good TV. Really
I
good
didn't
TV.
find out everything I wanted to find out.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Calm down.
You're making blanket statements over there.
But yeah, so the ghoul then offers Lucy an opportunity. He says, you can either stay here with him, pointing to, Max, and his friends are going to take this place, and they are going to take this place. It's not, if, they're gonna. And they will kill you and everybody here. Or you could come meet your makers. In the distance, you can kind of see more vertibirds, and the Pridwin are coming. So, like, the second wave of Brotherhood army is showing up. So then the ghoul turns back to the hole in the wall, kind of looking out there, and Lucy's looking at Max, and she sees a gun. She actually grabs the gun and cocks it. And we can't really see where she's aiming, and neither does the ghoul, because he's not facing her. And it kind of seems like she's about to shoot him, right? Like maybe she's just had enough. The gun fires, and it doesn't hit the ghoul. It actually kills Rose, the ghoul Rose, the one that's gone.
Her
She
mom.
kind of slumps over. So she puts down her mom, ends the suffering. Kind of a interesting moment for Lucy's character there, and the hard things that she has to do. This is the wasteland, and she had to kill her own mom, even though her mom's super gone. Like, that's still got to be pretty traumatic. And
that was your mom, yeah.
Right. Peering over his shoulder, the ghoul says, "You coming?" Lucy's still trying to wake up Max. She's like, "Come on, I'll find you. I'll find you, Max." And she kisses him, and she stands up. And she says her classic line, "Okie dokie."
Accepting a new level of the wasteland.
Exactly. She accepts that next level of what she's had to do, where she's going, and she has to leave somebody she loves, and she leaves to follow the ghoul. Now, that's Lucy and the ghoul, and they did. So it seems like a little bit of time passes here. Not much, but maybe 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Like it's gone from sunset to dusk.
Yeah, it's a little bit darker here. It looks at back to that cold fusion stuff, and it says cold fusion ready. Max wakes up, and he's like, Lucy, where are you, right? Kind of, he's still, I think his equilibrium's off. Still hear explosions in the distance, so there must still be some type of fighting going on. And while he's kind of stumbling around, Moldaver comes in. He hides behind the middle thing that he got bonked on as Moldaver walks in. And Moldaver walks over and smashes the button that said test for that cold fusion. And Max is just kind of watching her. And Moldaver walks over and sits down next to the dead ghoul and says, "We did it, Rose. We did it." Max kind of watches somberly here. And you see they do a nice cut here out of that big gaping hole in the observatory. And you see lights start to flicker on in the city. A few at first, and then more and more, and the skyscrapers start getting lights, and the cold fusion energy is spreading throughout the remnants of Shady Sands. That cold fusion lights up everything. They must have had it prepared and connected and everything. She must have set it all up, and her plan was just to then get the power and activate it. And then she doesn't even turn to Max, but she knows Max is there, and she says,
as he steps up beside her.
Yeah, she says, "What do you suppose your Brotherhood would do with infinite power? Maybe you can stop them. Maybe you can't. Maybe all you can do is try." She pulls her hand away from her stomach, and she's bleeding pretty bad. It looks like she's gonna die here, and she does. She kind of sags, and she goes still, and Moldaver's dead. Kind of the boogeyman of the whole series is gone.
I was kind of bummed.
Yeah, you had grown to like Moldaver. I mean, it turns out she was
This episode
kind of a good guy, right?
made me like Moldaver. Yeah.
What she was trying to do, what her goals were.
Your dad was the bad guy all along.
Your dad was a bad guy all along.
I mean, I still think Moldaver was kind of messed up. Like
Yeah.
Instead of, letting her rest in peace, she kept Rose chained up at the dinner table, like kind of probably suffering.
Yeah, like she couldn't let go.
I feel like it's kind of a cruel way to keep somebody around.
Yeah.
Because she's past feral.
But I mean, Rose doesn't even know who she is at that point, right?
I think it's more like for Hank. It's like something. It's like, yeah, you see this? You see this? Yeah, that's her wife. You get to stare at, you piece of crap.
You think so?
I don't know. I don't think it'd make him feel any better.
He seemed to be indifferent about it, though. He seemed to not care. I mean, the man did kill 30,000 people, so...
I mean, tactics, right? Tactics. You try a number of things, I guess.
We also didn't see his reaction when he first arrived and saw her for the first time as a ghoul.
True.
Yeah,
True.
Been there.
So, like,
this is like weeks later.
Well, it's like a week, it kind of seems. Maybe
2 weeks.
But, like, at most, right? Like, it seems like the series went really quick, but...
I mean, Lucy in the last episode said, I've only been up here 2 weeks and I already threw acid in an innocent man's face.
Oh, perfect. 2 weeks. Yeah. If that was the reference, then that was the reference.
Yep.
But back to it. Moldaver dies, and Max is still standing there. And this is when Dane comes in. They limp over to Max, and he's kind of looking. He's in shell shock, kind of, right? He's just still kind of getting his bearing because his head got bonked. And Dane's like, "Is that their leader? You killed her?" And Max is like, "No, Dane, I didn't kill her, right?" Like, and that's when Dane says, "All hail Maximus, that shall be night hereafter." And then slowly more Brotherhood troops are filing in, and they all start chanting it too. They're all like, "All hail Knight Maximus! All hail Knight Maximus!" All right. They're just chanting this, and Max kind of looks. He doesn't look like he's happy. He kind of looks.
He finally found out like the NCR are still around. Like the people where he used to call home, are still around, and like they were like actually like working towards like
building civilization.
If you can get power to place it, that is the biggest game changer. Like that is the biggest thing since Edison did it.
Oh yeah, well, and the cold fusion is supposed to be infinite energy. It's supposed to be the energy of energy, the thing that would end all wars, that would fix everything. And it's working now, which is crazy. And that's why, Moldaver shoves it in his face, is like, what's the Brotherhood going to do with it? And he already knows what he was sent there to do, right? They were supposed to show up, kill everybody, and take the stuff.
What the Brotherhood do with it?
Right? The Brotherhood going to be the Brotherhood, and they've kind of fallen far from grace.
But like, seriously, what are the practical applications of what the Brotherhood could do with that energy? So, like, would they just put it in the Pridwin, or would
more
they
Pridwins?
They would probably hear me out. They'd probably find a way to weaponize it.
Yeah, there's going to be weaponizing. There's going to be stuff like that. Their tech's just going to advance. They're going to be able to rule the wasteland. I mean, the guy said it. Quintus said it. He said, basically, we're taking power now. Like, he's like, we're no longer sitting out in the middle of the desert doing nothing.
Hear me out. The Brotherhood are going to be the bad guys.
Yep.
Always have.
They've kind of been the bad guys.
It's like what we're actually leading up to. Like this time, it's like no.
Well, they were mostly morally gray for the longest time, right?
They are kind of like morally gray, and that's the hard part. They just kind of sit on like a weird boundary.
Because their armor's gray.
Well, no, they do good. You'd think they'd kind of do good things, but they do a lot of things more or less for them.
Yeah,
or that benefits them.
It's very selfish, for sure. Interesting enough here, Dane is the one that says Max will be a knight hereafter. Dane doesn't have that power, right? Like, maybe... I feel like we missed something.
I was wondering, like, is there, like, a tradition, I don't know what to call it, in the Brotherhood, if you kill the leader of an organization, you're knighted for that?
Possibly.
Probably just like a some sort of feat.
He did something badass, so he's probably going to be knighted for it.
Even though he didn't actually do it.
Yeah,
he didn't actually do it.
Dane sees an opportunity for Max and just takes it, I guess.
I wonder if it's maybe it's an ulterior motive for them to advance themselves in rank.
The head scribe.
Possibly.
Because if the whole thing with the Brotherhood is taking power and it's not earned, That'd be a great way to, rise up through the ranks. Get somebody else promoted so you can get yourself promoted shortly after.
I don't think so. I don't think that's Dane's motivation. I think Dane's more motivated to just make sure Max is okay. Like, it seems like there's still like that connection, that friendship there.
There's also like some interesting visual representation of Max's possible divided loyalty. When Dane first enters the room, Max never turns around. Max is still facing the big hole in the wall. And
Still
when
looking at Shady
Dane
Sam.
like lifts Max's arm like a WWE champion, Max still keeps his back turned to the Brotherhood. He doesn't turn to face them at all. It's kind of a cool visual symbolism of
artistic,
Max
and he never
isn't
turns.
Totally on board with everything that the Brotherhood is saying.
No, he likes Lucy a lot more and the vibe that she's got.
He wants to be safe.
Okay, ends with Max. All hail Knight Maximus. All hail Knight Maximus. And then we flash to the foothills below the Hollywood sign, and the ghoul emerges from like this small building, and that's when we see CX404 Dogmeat run up and sniff and trot, being the bestest doggo. So like still followed the ghoul, and the ghoul was smart enough not to take it up into the battle. Right after he starts walking away, Lucy emerges too. So she has gone with him, confirmed. And she looks off into the distance, kind of looking torn, but kind of determined, and starts following the ghoul. And that's when the camera pans up, showing the crumbling Hollywood sign that says sponsored by Nuka-Cola, which I just thought was a perfect little reference there, that this world is been controlled by corporations and led to what we see before us.
Capitalism.
Then it flashes to the final scene of season 1. And the sun's rising over the wasteland. So like we were left when it just became night, and it seems like the sun's rising here. Could be the next day, could be a little bit longer. But we see someone in power armor, like their silhouette walking. And it's cool because it shows a really cool Deathclaw skull on the ground. Power armor walking up behind it. And then finally the power armor comes into focus, and we see Hank's face. And he stops and he looks ahead. And this is why I think maybe some time passed, because like his face is kind of like, he looks like he's had sun damage. He's not bleeding anymore, but like it looks bad, right? Like he's got that open wound on his face. And he stares into this valley below. And the camera rises up behind the power armor, revealing the crumbling ruins of New Vegas in the distance. And that's where the series ends. We're going to Vegas, baby.
Vegas. The credits are really cool too, because they go through New Vegas. You see a billboard for the Tops Hotel and the Cryo Suites, and yeah.
It lines up perfectly with the intro to the very opening sequence to Fallout New Vegas.
It does.
Right, when it pans up.
Where you see the NCR Ranger sitting on top of the New Vegas sign Raider, it lines up perfectly with that.
So I didn't notice that Vegas was crumbling. Is that just because there wasn't any lights on, or I just thought it looked crappy anyway?
I mean, it was daytime, so like the lights wouldn't be going too hard.
I mean, it was sunset, sunrise. But that's what the audio description said, is there was crumbling ruins. And I think it was just more that it's like not the Vegas we know.
I was gonna say, looking at it just in general, like something to me just looked off about it. Like it didn't remind.
It looked smaller.
That's what I thought too. It looked kind of small.
Oh, no, I mean, New Vegas itself, for the most part, just has a wall around its strip, and then like all the other parts are just kind of like.
But it's got the military base like strapped onto it. Like it looks like it should be bigger.
The military base is not attached to the strip, no.
But it's like close enough that you would see it in that shot over the valley.
Unless it's gone.
I mean, depending on what side you're looking at.
They actually had to shrink down. If you look at the New Vegas map and compare it to like real life, they kind of shrank it down and tried to cram it together, because in reality, those places are so far apart from each other.
I guess that makes sense then, right? Because like we're just focusing on the Vegas part, which had the makeshift walls all around it, and you could still see all the buildings and the casinos. But honestly, Vegas was kind of crappy. It's falling apart when you get there. Some of the casinos look good, but a lot of the other buildings around it are just trashed.
Yeah, I think outside the big tower, everything else is definitely falling apart.
No, even the Lucky 38 looked kind of messed up.
Well, consider this is supposed to take place after Fallout New Vegas, the video game, as well. So, what's the canon ending? If Mr. House is alive, it sounds like Mr. House's ending is the ending. So, we got to find out, is he alive?
I'm still convinced that the tunnelers from the Lonesome Road DLC made their way into New Vegas like Ulysses tells you it's going to happen, and they destroy the strip.
Possibly.
If you have a high enough survival skill, he'll tell you it'll be less than a decade that they'll take over the strip.
Here's the problem. I don't think they're going to make the Divide canon, because you go in there and you're supposed to pick where the bombs drop.
You can also cancel the countdown as well.
But, like, the courier would have picked, right? Like, it's either you drop it in on the Divide, you drop it on the Bear, the Bull, or you don't drop it. So I guess, sure, it could be not, but I don't know. The Divide raises a lot of questions for me, and, like, what they're going to do with that, because they did write a lot of lore there. For example, like, if the NCR just got blown up, and how long ago were they implying that was? Like 10 years? 12? A little bit longer, because Lucy's like, what? She's supposed to be 20?
More based off of Max.
Max was like maybe 9 or something like that. I don't know. He said
maybe younger, maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
But either way, like, you think about that, the NCR and Caesar's Legion were fighting before that bomb drop. What happened once the NCR was severely weakened? Did Caesar's Legion move in? Was Caesar's Legion defeated? What's the canon ending? And maybe those tunnelers made it in, but then I don't think so, because I think what they're trying to imply here is that we're going to talk to Mr. House. I think they're going to pull that back in. I think there's going to be some fan servicing for us there, which would imply that Mr. House's ending is the one.
And also, they could just break from...
It still doesn't explain the level of destruction to those buildings, though.
I mean, everything looks destroyed, right? Like, you looked at Shady Sands, all those buildings around it were messed up. The only ones that weren't were the ones that got bombed. Mr. House isn't going to be fixing up all those casinos. I don't know. I didn't think it looked as in ruins as everybody's thinking it is. I think it'll be fine. I don't know if there's going to be a ton of people down there.
I think what throws it off is, like, I'm, like, looking at a picture of it. I guess the city could look fine, but it's like, where's everything else around it? Like, I'm like, it looks like a giant desert, like, came through and, like, wiped everything.
I think Dab Ninja's right on that one. I think that because it's a video game for New Vegas, they had to, squeeze everything together.
Yes, because the distance between Freestride and the strip themselves is like 20 minutes.
Okay, you say that, but I'm like looking at this picture and I'm like, it makes it look more like New Vegas itself now is like sitting in like a canyon area. Like, it's got mountains like really close to it. Like, really close to it. And I'm like, it's not really flat, but like, it's flat enough where like those mountains it's kind of showing me like aren't that close to where they would be.
I mean, there are mountains around Vegas.
I mean,
yeah.
Yes, but like the way, like I said, it's showing like...
I don't know. It's obviously something's going on. We'll have to find out. That's one of the big questions. But before we delve into our end of season questions, as we will, let's go ahead and talk about this episode and give our ratings. And then also, let's answer the question. So, question for the episode was basically, which characters have you changed your mind about? Which characters do you still really like? We're basically focusing up on the characters of the episode. Lucy, Max, Thaddeus, the Ghoul, Moldaver, like whoever, right? Hank, Norm. Talk about whatever your favorite character is, and then give your episode rating and why you give it that rating. So let's go ahead and start with Bakedbanana. Talk about your favorite character.
I'd say, honestly, I really like the Ghoul. I really like the character development with the Ghoul. I like the story, like learning a lot of his background pretty much tells a lot of what happened beforehand. Oh, yeah. And like it makes me like wonder still though, like what has happened in between like the 200 years. I rate this episode though 11 out of 10.
11 out of 10. Okay,
breaking the scale.
I thought this episode was like the best damn episode. I'm like, I could see. I'm like, they saved everything for this episode.
I'm only doing 10 out of 10, but I appreciate how much you loved this episode.
11 out of 10. So good.
Okay, cool. So Dab Ninja, you're next, but Banana's 100% sold. What is your favorite character?
Got it right with 100, so we can just start with that right there. 100 out of 10.
100 out of 10?
Yes.
Loved this episode. Okay, and then...
Absolutely. Well, my favorite character is still the dog for how limited
Just
screen
dog me.
time we have.
Nailed
for the
every
dog.
scene. 10 out of 10 acting. Better be
Yeah.
in season 2.
But really, it was really hard for me to choose because I feel every actor and actress did such a great job of pulling off their role that I feel like it's kind of unfair to be like, oh, well, I have a... Because hands down, like, each one of them has every moment where I'm like, damn, that was badass. Or opposite effect of that of, why'd you go and have to do that? Like, the amount of times that someone has done something stupid or badass is just too much for me to be like, oh, I have a favorite. Which is why I'm like, dog. Dog is bestest.
Doggo
Doggo.
for the win.
Doggo.
Alrighty. Snickerer, our resident, never played any Fallout games, but has watched the show now.
My favorite character, honestly, I really like Norm. I was always interested in his story and like what was going on. I liked how like he hid from the Raiders in the first episode, but after that he didn't really like back down from Betty kind of trying to bully him into being quiet, or like he was investigating all the vaults, not by himself, but he was kind of in charge of that, and
he ended up being by himself too.
Yeah, and then he ended up being by himself, and I feel like he's just kind of coming into his own as like a leader, which is, I enjoy, and I'm excited to see what happens in season 2 with him. I guess my rating, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. I was prepared to give it a 10 out of 10, but there was just a couple things in the episode that bugged me and that they didn't explain, and I felt like they could have. A lot of stuff with Moldaver. Why was she still alive? They don't even talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, so,
I got some qualms with that too. So,
but the battle was cool. The ghoul was cool, and the way they revealed what had happened with Vault-Tec was really cool. So I'm gonna go 9 out of 10.
Perfect. Okay, TooRissky.
Originally I said Thaddeus / Lucy, but I did really like Norm for all the reasons that Snickerer said. But the character that I changed my mind about is Moldaver. Like, at the beginning, she's really painted as the bad guy. She's a raider. She comes in, messes up Vault 33. But then at the end, you realize what she's working towards. And that's a better life for the survivors. And I'm on board with that. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of bummed that Moldaver died because I wish we could have seen more of her. Like, she seems pretty badass and smart. She was a scientist. So, I don't know. I really liked her. I would give this one a 9 out of 10. Super solid episode, but I kind of wish we could have seen more from Lucy. Like I called her Weepy Hoshi earlier, because literally that's all she's doing this episode is just crying, looking back and forth between Hank and Moldaver and Hank and Moldaver. And it's just like, we've seen her like in episode 1, it shows like all the things that she's been trained to do. She's badass. She's a really good shot. She knows like how to fight. And like the episode The Trap, she fights all those guys in level 12. And like, I don't know, I was kind of disappointed that Lucy didn't have more of a role in the fight here at the end. It also makes sense because like she had to learn all of this stuff too. But
well, her and Norm are kind of trapped in inaction.
Yeah.
By the end of this, right? So their action going forward is going to be important, but they're both put at a point that they've got to move on to something else, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like actually this episode was huge for her. She had to basically her entire world was shattered again. It'd already been multiple times, with the other vaults, but then she has to kill her mom, and then she has to be like, all right, I got to hunt down my dad. So I thought that was pretty big for her character.
For sure, absolutely, I agree. I just wish we could have seen more action from her. Yeah. But Moldaver is probably my new favorite character, and she's dead.
Favorite character.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right, and what's your rating for the episode?
I said 9 out of 10, didn't I?
Well, now you just
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. What could have made it a 10? What did we just you said that
Lucy.
Moldaver died? Oh, Lucy. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted more action from her.
Okay, cool. 9 out of 10. Which leaves me, BMR, and mine has never changed. I liked the ghoul from the moment we saw him until the moment, it ended. He was my favorite character throughout the entire thing. His story is so much more interesting, I think, than anybody else's. Not that the others aren't, but he is tied more to the entire story of Fallout than any other character I think we've seen in the Fallout universe, because he's lived through it all. He lived before the bombs fell, he lived during the bombs falling, and after, right? And he's more connected, he knows more about the world, and he's kind of like this outlaw, bounty hunter cowboy, you know, and I'm a sucker for cowboys. I like the cowboy stuff. So
it's like everything you always wanted to be.
Exactly. So cool. So freaking cool. In fact, when they released the Fallout 76 ghoul stuff, I'm actually thinking of playing again just to be a ghoul and role play some cowboyness. So yeah, that's huge. But the ghoul is my favorite. Great story. There's so much more to come, right? Like, we still don't know. The last we left Cooper before the bombs dropped, he just found out that his wife was the one that said, we're going to drop the bombs. But otherwise, how did he become a ghoul? What's going on there? What happens when the bombs fall? Does his daughter make it? He's looking for his family, so that implies his daughter did make it. He's looking for his wife. Like, what happened? Why is he a ghoul? Like, it's just really good stuff. So, other than that, I mean, all the characters are great, right? Max is great. Lucy is great. Thaddeus, actually, if you want to talk about changed mind, I didn't like Thaddeus at first, but his story became pretty funny. I really liked how that went. So Thaddeus kind of brought me to his side.
I still like Thaddeus, but he's just more of like a comic relief almost.
Mm-hmm. We're going to see where he ends up. He's going to show up in season 2. There's no way he doesn't.
I sure hope so. Yeah.
And I hope he's a little bit more ghouled. Like, not completely, but a little bit more, right?
He's going to be in some random house and being like, Thaddeus, my name is Thaddeus.
I hope not. I hope it doesn't go straight to feral.
I hope not, yeah.
I hope he meets up with Max or something, and then they have more adventures. But okay, that leaves my rating for the episode, and I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 as well. I thought this one was fantastic. There's a few questions that were left unanswered. I think they answered quite a bit, but I could have done with a few more answers and more action scenes. I don't know. I just wanted more. I think that's why it's missing the point for me. But otherwise, what's most impressive about this is your 2 resident Fallout fans, the biggest ones here. I love Fallout, but Banana and Dab Ninja really love Fallout. That's their universe. And both of you guys gave it a 10 out of 10, which is huge for gaming, huge for TV stuff.
I can overlook some things the same way I overlook Bethesda for some things. It's just like,
right. But still, pretty impressive that gamers really loved this series, and that's rare to see these days. So it's good. I think we're moving in a good direction overall in the industry. So pretty pumped on that.
So, like, because I was looking at that picture, like, making comments about it. It's on someone's YouTube video. I was reading one of the first comments, and it actually, I think it's the best damn comment I ever read. It's like, imagine Hank gets to Lucky 38 and expects Mr. House only to find some dumb smiley robot who took over.
Right? Did the Yes Man one finish?
I would be so down for this.
It would be so great.
Mr. House, it's like, who the hell are you? It's like, hi.
They better do some of the robots and everything. Like, that would be pretty fantastic. I mean, there's a whole army of them. They got to be moving around somewhere.
I just thought that was freaking hilarious.
Pretty great. But okay, and that is the end of episode 8. We got our ratings in. We got our questions in. Fantastic series. But we're not done yet. We got to talk about some end of the season questions. Some of the stuff that bothered us. And some of the questions like, what's going to happen in season 2? Some speculation here. So, knowing everything that's happened, does anybody have some theories about season 2? Anything they want to share? Any ideas?
More answers?
I just want to know more, damn it.
So we just want more? Okay. Well, my main question is like what Snickerer said. How is Moldaver still alive? All the other guys they explained, they were cryo-frozen. But what about Moldaver? Did she get cryo-frozen too somewhere? Like, she had to have, right?
Well, she's a synth.
Yep, the synth theory is still out there. But she was working with the NCR, and she seemed to still have her same goal in mind.
Okay, but hear me out. There's people that work for the Brotherhood that are synths. There's people that work for the Minutemen that are synths. Like, synths infiltrate literally everybody and anybody. Synths literally infiltrate everybody and anybody. It wouldn't be that far-fetched for her to be, replaced, nobody notice, and live for 200 years, except for, people she does know end up dying out before her.
If I shoot a synth, do they bleed?
The new
Gen 4
models?
synths do.
Yeah. Which she probably would be one of those.
Yeah, she's bleeding, so.
Yeah, she was bleeding, and she died from a shot. I don't think a synth would have died from that, would they?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm still down for the synth idea. Like, I think it's either that or cryo freeze. There's really no other options. Like, what, time travel? So, another thing I noticed about Moldaver, I don't know, and this is just my theory. Think back to when they're meeting with Big Mountain, Robco, Repcon, West Tech, and they show the silhouette of the guy up there. Well, they do another shot from behind that silhouette, and there's a person sitting next to it. And that person has the same haircut and is wearing glasses as Moldaver before the bombs drop. Could she possibly be a little bit more involved there than we knew originally? But she would have been outraged by that, right? Like,
and would they allow her to keep working with them if she's speaking out against so much against them?
And she also sold all of her research to them, though.
Yeah. So
you could sell your research to them and then also work for them. Like,
she's playing a deep game.
Something.
Like playing both sides.
Well, she's dead now, so it really doesn't matter. Unless another one shows up, and then that kind of confirms the synth or maybe the cloning. But still a lot of questions with Moldaver. Hopefully we'll get some answers next season to find out how did she live that long, because they just didn't answer that, and it's kind of frustrating because they made it a big reveal too that she was, before the bombs dropped, but they don't clear anything up. Next big question, I guess, is how did Cooper Howard become a ghoul? We still got to find that out. Anybody have any ideas? I mean, obviously that's serum, but
or he just was near the bomb.
I think we'll probably find that out eventually.
They better tell us next season.
Yeah, I mean, season 2 needs to answer some questions, right? We need to find out Ghoul's family. How did the ghoul ghoulify? What about Norm? Did he get in the cryo tank, or did he figure his way out? Where's Thaddeus? Is he just off being a ghoul somewhere? Who's the mysterious figure, the banker, overseeing the vault presentation? How did Moldaver live, right? Was she the head of the NCR?
I know for a fact I want a Mysterious Stranger cameo.
Mysterious Stranger cameo? That would be fantastic if we could get that.
I'm just ready to see a Deathclaw. I'm not going to lie.
You want to see a Deathclaw?
Yeah.
Next season, the Deathclaw would be pretty sweet.
I think season 2 should have more radiated wildlife. We've seen chickens and deer.
Dogs.
Yeah, dogs are normal. Those weren't radiated. The Gulper is a radiated creature. Well, hybridized, we learned. And then Deathclaw skulls we saw. But I feel like
Yaogoi.
the Yaogoi. I feel like when you're like walking through the wasteland in the game, you're always coming across like rad scorpions, like all these different
rad deer.
Yeah,
creatures.
like
there's got to be rad scorpions in next season.
So just more radiated creatures, I think.
Are we gonna have our golden geckos running at them?
Oh, the geckos.
That'd be pretty great because they run on their 2 legs and they all like wave their arms. Pretty funny.
I've played like the first hour of Fallout New Vegas, and that's all I remember is rad scorpions and the geckos.
Knowing you, you'd probably join the powder gangers with your love of dynamite.
That was back in my Red Dead days, okay?
I've changed, sure.
But if I get put back in that situation, I'm pulling out my dynamite.
Another good question here. Remember when very first episode, Hank and Moldaver meet face to face because she comes into the vault? They obviously knew each other. Why did he not think something was up? There's a few things here that are just weird, right? And I hope they explain it. Because if they gloss over that, that's like a big plot hole and some like poor writing to just be like, she showed up and he didn't even realize it was her.
I think maybe he more did it so his daughter didn't like know anything.
But why would if the door opens and you're like, I know that chick, she's bad, she stole my wife. So maybe he didn't remember her? Maybe he never saw her?
Maybe he never knew who she was.
Yeah, maybe
that's what I was thinking.
That's the only thing that it could be.
There are kind of 2 situations where he could have known about Moldaver. Before the bombs drop, we don't see them meeting at all, but Moldaver seems like she has a reputation, and so maybe young Hank had heard about this Moldaver who's working she's leading a communist party, sort of a thing. Or the other one is with Shady Sands. Did he goes up after Rose to bring the kids back, and maybe he met Moldaver then?
I don't know. They don't really explain it. So
no, they don't.
Maybe we'll find out next
weird.
season. Maybe they'll show us a little bit more of that interaction between the kids, Rose, Moldaver, and Hank. But we will have to wait for season 2. And the most burning question out of the entire series: what happened to Majun?
And Barb.
Barb! Hopefully they tell us. I hope they just show up somewhere, right? And we hear her yell "Barb" again somewhere.
She's just running some shop in New Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. She just moved to her second location in New Vegas.
She's opening a franchise.
Oh, that's my second shop, just in case things went south.
Yeah, and they went south. Okay, well, that brings us to our final season 1 overall ratings. Now, we've totaled up all the ratings, basically, from every single episode that we've put out. It looks like my totals ended up being an 8.93. Dab Ninja was an 8.68. TooRissky was a 9. Nice that you got a solid number there. Banana got a 9.25. And Snickerer got an 8.75. He doesn't even like Fallout. I was figuring out.
Never even played the game.
Is there any final adjustments you guys want to make? Because we do have a total for the whole series based off of all of this. But any overall score? Do you agree with your overall score? Do you want to raise it, lower it? What do you think?
I'm happy with my score.
I think it looks good.
Okay. If we add up all those scores and do the division maths, we end up with a BMR crew overall season 1 rating of 8.92. Dirty decimals, man. Dirty decimals. I mean, if you round it, it's a 9.
Yeah.
And in my heart, right, that's this is us trying to be critical that we got this high of a rating. In my heart, this series is an 11 out of 10. This is the best TV I think I've seen in a hot minute, and it's something I actually care about.
Best video game adaptation I've ever seen.
Amazon knew what they were doing when they were cooking. They're like, I have an idea. We need Todd.
The Netflix One Piece adaptation was pretty good, but this is better. It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm giving my Italian hands right now. I'm shaking my fingers.
All right. Any last minute thoughts, guys, on the season 1 of Fallout?
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything down to the last detail.
It was beautiful. I agree. Such a fantastic show.
I want season 2.
Yep.
Please.
Season 2, which
it
they're
was
in production. And not even, I think they greenlit season 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're just okay, it made a lot of money. Let's go.
Yeah, so, it was greenlit a week after it premiered on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think they'll pull in some more famous people as actors?
I hope not.
It was successful.
I liked not knowing a lot of the actors here. I've heard of the Ella Purnell.
Do you think there'll be a cameo of some random person?
I want Todd to be in season 2.
Only one I will accept is Nicolas Cage.
Why?
Because he needs to be in everything. That's why.
It's Nicolas Cage.
It's
Nicolas Cage.
We need to get a random raid Jack Black. I think that would be acceptable.
I don't know. They did that in Star Wars, and Jack Black showed up, but you can't unsee the Jack Black. It kind of takes you out of the immersion.
They had the one guy who was selling organs, and I know him from a bunch of stuff.
Oh,
True.
Sorrel Booker.
On the couch.
Yeah, he's been in some stuff.
No, not Sorrel. Huey. Huey's been in a ton of stuff. I saw him first in a series of unfortunate events. He's a good actor.
Yeah, so they had that. He was the closest thing to a celebrity cameo.
Yeah.
For me, so I could see them bringing somebody else in.
He's been in Stranger Things too.
Wilzig's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
Hank
Wilzig.
McLean's been in a bunch of stuff. A lot of these actors have been in stuff that you don't know.
Twin Peaks with Hank McLean in it.
He's the main character, so
he's good.
But okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening. 8 episodes, lots of discussion, lots of theorizing, great series, great breakdowns. We had a fun time doing this, really loved it. So if you've stuck it all the way through to the end, we thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. We will be hitting up season 2, 3, 4, 5, as many as they'll let us do.
We want to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah. what are your theories for season 2? Slap them down in the comments. Let us know what you liked about this series. Let us know your favorite characters. Answer all the questions that we've been asking. Tell us your favorite lore bits, anything, you know, and tell us what you didn't like. Tell us what you do like, all of it. Let's have some conversations in the comments below. So, thank you so much again. As always, become the best you can be. Become a vault dweller. Believe it.
When life's got you down, get buds.
Buds.
Buds.